Yeah, we listened to him.
At Edinburgh Uni in front of the students, and then turned out they said the camera, the lecture room camera was recording, and then that would do the audio as well. Comes to the end, finish it, talk in front of the students, and then they're like, they send me the footage. I'm like, where's the audio? They're like, oh,
no,
we didn't realise we were meant to use the microphone.
No, disaster.
So they got me back in a month later, but without any audience this time, so I had to pretend. And he's snipping in the voiceover at himself, voicing over it as if he's one of the people in the crowd. So I'm just like talking and waiting. But
So you watch it and you wonder why everybody in the crowd is Italian.
Well, everybody's got the same. Yeah, it's just one guy asked every question. Right. Well, we're rolling, aren't we? So
we are rolling. I was once on a podcast where tech support started chipping in without a microphone. Started getting involved. I'm only messing. Obviously, you don't get this sort of treatment without being here for 20 years, Scotty. So thanks very much for sorting the boys out. I think we've got some poison.
Yeah, we'll start with the whiskey, will we?
I've been waiting on it for quite some time, mate. So.
The sun's now over the yardarm somewhere.
That's it, isn't it? Right.
Maybe not in West Edinburgh, but
what have we got? We've got a couple, haven't we? Actually, so we're going to
include that in the podcast, no?
This is the podcast.
We are live. We are live. That's tech support.
The Ministry of Background Voices there.
So we're going in. You can do the honours. We're going to do the back. Yeah, well, you mentioned on the Zoom that you were above any 14 Caribbean cask fan.
Indeed.
I am hoping this is one you've not tried.
Brand new. I've never tried it.
Brand new.
Superb.
There is, if you want to grab the other bottle.
Tell me it's a Pedro Jimenez.
Yes.
Oh, I knew there was a reason I came here. How magnificent.
So we've got one to drink and one to say thanks, depending on how this goes. So
oh, wow. Well, that's very kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's wonderful.
So from your reaction, this seemed like the savour.
That's one of my favourites, the Pedro Jimenez, when they're finished in those. Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we crack them both?
Oh, well, if you're happy
it's
to
very kind.
do...
You didn't need to do that. I'm very touched that you did, but let's crack them.
Are you sure?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, on a live stream, believe it or not, I've cut my finger before opening a bottle of whiskey, so I'll save that for you.
At least we can edit this one.
You're grand.
Yeah, do the honours. We'll start there. Additionally, Scott, we've got some options glassware-wise. So we all like to drink whiskey out of different glasses. So we've got...
Yes. The
Norlands, if you'd like an Norland. I'm a Norland fan, so I'm going to take a Norland.
That's a great glass.
Harvey tends to be a Glencairn.
I'm a Glencairn guy. I've not had to pay rise to get myself some Norlands yet, to be fair.
There's a sale on at the moment. Not that I'm advertising. Clearly, I'm advertising it, but it's not a product placement. But there's a sale on. I think they've got the last of this batch because prices have all gone up. So we've got the glasses and the decanters on sale at the moment. Oh, this is smashing. This is new, a new expression to them.
Yeah, it's new. It's actually an airport exclusive, I believe, at the moment, but we do actually have a supplier who...
Scott, there's a tumbler there, or a Norland, or a Glencairn. Up to you.
I'll have a Norland, please, if you don't mind. That's great. These are actually bottled in Ireland at the Tullamore Distillery in Clonmel, and they're customers of mine. And so the laser code, the traceability code, is one of my lasers.
Wow, there you
go.
And that's the only good thing, while we're talking about Tullamore, the only, personal opinion, the only good thing about Brexit is you can bring 4 litres of booze home now from duty free. And you get it at the proper duty free prices when you're flying out of Ireland. But
I'm going to have to do the old...
yeah, do it.
That's nice, I like that.
Right there, yeah. Let's pour a couple of these.
Size measures are...
Yeah, generous measures anyway. Look at the colour of that.
Life's too short for small measures, Simon.
Glencairn's
That's exactly it.
That's interesting. So why do you prefer the Glencairn glass? I appreciate you're interviewing me rather than the other way around.
No, listen, we're not. This is conversation. Absolutely. Why is it? I've never really gotten on with them, to be honest.
I use them for tasting.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing a tutored tasting, I use the Glencairn glass principally because they're cheaper than these things. These are what, 25 quid each, 50 quid a pair.
Yeah, my wife gave me them as a gift actually. So that was lovely.
I got them for just over £1 because I was buying 300. So
Slange gents, thank you so much. It's
no problem.
Pleasure.
This is great.
What an amazing place to be filming a podcast. The backdrop is fantastic, and Yeah.
Certainly is. What a stadium, eh?
What a stadium. What a stadium.
There's obviously a reason we're here, Scott. 20 years and a lifelong Jambo, season ticket holder.
Absolutely.
And it's probably a question you get asked 100 times, every time. How did you end up here? So we know it was a bit of a mistake. It was a bit of, you fell into it.
Absolutely.
Wasn't the original plan.
I've been a season ticket holder since I was, I think, 4. My first game was against Dundee United here in 1966. And so I've just been coming, and I used to bring my boy. Obviously, my kids are both Hearts fans as well. We used to sit in the Gorgie stand, and at the same time, I was also the announcer for the Scottish Claymores. I don't know if you remember the NFL team we used to have here.
Absolutely.
So I did that. I did the basketball. I did the ice hockey. Effectively, whatever. And Chris Robinson came to a match as a guest and saw what we did, and we had a backfield party. So we used to get the fans of Claymores and whoever were playing, with Rheinfire or Frankfurt Galaxy, whatever, and everybody would mix, and it was great fun. So Chris liked that, and he asked me to come in, and he said, we're looking just to change the game day experience, and wondered if you would be interested in the role. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Not at all. I said, but I'll give you some ideas, happy to consult and give you some ideas. Right, would you come in and would you implement these ideas over 3 or 4 games? I said, yeah, absolutely, but no more. Right, okay. So we agreed it was going to be from the start of the 2002 season, and he had me in and he said, the fixtures go live tomorrow, just to let you know that the opening fixture, we play Hibs. I'm like, right-o, okay, have you any ideas? I said, I've got loads. So he said, well, speak with Phil. So we had Phil Firework. Phil, do you remember? It used to be at the SRU.
Well, that was the thing. I remember Murrayfield when they upped that sort of the game day experience, and it was all fireworks and music and everything. And I think I went
to see Phil, absolutely,
yeah.
And I said, I'd really like to do this. He said, have you any idea how much that costs? I said, £7,100. I've already priced it. A lot of money, etc. I said, listen, it'll be great. But what if we lose? I said, it's my idea. If we win, it's your idea. Phil loved this. And so that's what we did. So we had the big flamethrowers as the team came out, and I changed it up, and I thought, rather than my predecessor Mark, who did a wonderful job, Mark used to play Shout by Lulu after every goal. Now, I like Lulu as a person. I used to like that song, but see, when you hear it so frequently, it's like, no! So I thought, I'll change it. So I cut up 5 hooks, Walking on Sunshine, Let Me Entertain You. I can't remember what the rest were. And I thought, that'll do me for the first 3 or 4 games. 5 clips. I used them all in that first game, because that was Mark de Vries's home debut. Mark scores 4, Hearts win 5-1, everybody's going tonto. So we did it, and I came back in, I think during that week, and Chris is going, oh, that was magic, People had written in, and he had a pile of letters. He had 6 letters. He's like, that's from the fans, they love it. I'm like, well, that's grand. That's what, hopefully that was the intention. We did the next one. I think we drew with Rangers, and I can't remember what the other 3 games were. And I came in and I sat down, and I was with Kenny Whitman, who's the head of sponsorship at the time, and he said, everybody loves it, it's really, really good. I want you to stay. I'm like, no, I'm not having it. Absolutely not. Who have you trained up? I've not got anybody. Right, okay, so I wrote down a figure. I said, that's what I want. And he said, I've not got that money. I said, brilliant. Stood up, I shook his hand. Chris came in at that moment, another pile. He said, the fans love you, thanks very much. He patted me on the back. He said, I don't know how much Kenny's paying you, but it's not enough, thanks very much. And I'm like, oh really? And I look at Kenny, and it's a facepalm moment.
There's a number on the desk,
absolutely.
Actually.
It wasn't a big number, but I'm a great believer. If you don't charge anything for your service, people value your service at that price. And so it was a small amount, just to say it needs to be something, otherwise you get taken for granted if you do it for free. And so I did that. We did some horse trading. I never got anywhere near that figure, and trust me, it wasn't a big figure. And so we did some horse trading with season tickets, etc., etc. And it's just grown from there. And so I just, the one thing I do, whatever the commentary or whatever the event is that I'm hosting, my tongue is in my cheek. This is football, it's entertainment. Yeah. Sometimes it's entertainment. It's entertainment. Nobody dies.
Yeah.
So if I say something that's maybe a bit unsavoury, I try not to be offensive. I try to be entertaining. I know I'm not a comedian, but it's meant to be light-hearted. So that was my philosophy. It was my philosophy with everything, that it's not meant to be taken that seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I've done it, and I've enjoyed it, and comments I've made, sometimes have been taken the wrong way, but they're all made with the right intentions. Absolutely. I don't go out my way to insult or upset anybody when I'm doing interviews in the Gorgie Suite or elsewhere and I have a guest, I will respect you for the position like a former player, but we've never had a Ronaldo or a Messi who every game has been sensational, and if you come on and you think you're Johnny Big Boss, then I will deflate your ego. And so I'll start by relaxing them and building them up, and then there'll be a wee dull one that comes in. And they all know what to expect.
That's it.
And it's great, and the guests, the punters, they all seem to love it. And we, up until COVID, there were awards for the 4 years preceding that, the Stadium Awards, the Stadium Hospitality Awards, and we entered every year, and every year we had the judges coming, and we were all told to be on our best behaviour. Me particularly, don't say this and don't say that. Naturally I did, but we came in, we filled the judges full of drink, they had a great time, and year one we came second to Liverpool, Newcastle. Year two we were second to Liverpool, and then Tottenham, and I think Man City. So we're second in the UK at hospitality. Jeez, we must be doing something right. And by virtue of that, we're number one in Scotland. But it's a great team, a real team effort. Everybody knows where they should be and what they should be doing, and we do deliver. I sound very corporate here, but we deliver a great package. And I've yet to have anybody come into the Gorgie Suite particularly and go away and not have had a great time.
What was the catalyst for that? Were clubs starting to look in that direction at that time when they were starting to think actually the fan experience isn't great, or what was it? What was happening before that? Were you looking at rugby, looking at European American football?
Absolutely, Chris Robinson was a visionary, and he had these great ideas. Not all of them were great. He had ideas. Some of them were less than great, like the move to Murrayfield, which I did express reservations about. That's a whole other story. There's a whole chapter in my book about that. But most of his ideas were great, and he did want to jazz things up. But when Mr. Romanov came in, obviously poured money into it, and we made things bigger and better. But then we ran out of money, and they couldn't pay the host for the Gorgie Suite. And so they said, listen, we're already paying you the pittance that they were paying me to be stadium announcer. Would you stand in and do the Gorgie Suite for a few weeks? And that turned into 10 years. And it's just great fun because I'm given carte blanche. Now, as I said, I will embarrass people, but I'll never humiliate them, and that's kind of my shtick. And so I've done that all the way along, and it's just grown and grown, and it's been really, really successful. And again, like that, I've never left. It's like Hotel California. But I got to the stage at I think around about January, February of this year. I'm just thinking it's getting too much, because I do the Gorgie Suite, invariably there's 300 or 400 people in there. Then I go and do the Strongbow, the Heritage, the European Lounge, and I should end up on the top floor in the directors. I've never made the directors in, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. And I thought, just, 20 years, great time to call it a day. And I informed the club. I phoned Anne and was like a bit taken aback. Are you still going to do hospitality? I said, yeah, I'll do that. So I remain as the voice of Hearts, not my phrase at all, the club's phrase.
Own it.
Everywhere, every time, it's absolutely everywhere. You type in your name, it's the voice of Hearts. Geez. That's it. So there's no getting away from it.
And it is lovely. It's my football club, and to think when I was a wee boy, I used to come here, and I think Larry Cowan was the first one that I remember as the stadium announcer, and Larry used to have a garden shed down here in what was the old enclosure, and I thought one day I want to be in there playing records. And so I've grown up to be an old boy and the voice of Hearts. How cool is that?
Yeah, very cool. Well done.
Absolute awesome dream, isn't it?
I'll down to that.
Yeah,
I've talked an awful lot, so I'll just get a wee bit.
And what we're thinking actually, how are we enjoying the Balvenie, the Madeira cask? What we're getting out of that?
Very soft, fruity, like peachy.
Yeah, I get actually a wee bit pineapple in those.
Yeah, just as
do you get that as well?
Say that. Yeah, a bit pineapple.
And loads of vanilla. It's very nice, very smooth.
Ripe banana.
There's definitely a tropical element to that. Definitely a tropical element coming from the Madeira cask, I think. It's absolutely delicious.
Yeah, I do like
the colour's gorgeous as well.
I actually, before I forget, there's a few things you touched on there that I wanted to just rewind. Why 3 days? That was all you wanted to do. Like you said, you said as a youngster I wanted to be there.
Because I was quite happy just sitting in my seat with my son.
Right.
Where I can sit there and just be myself and castigate referees for being shite, because the vast majority are absolutely appalling. And funnily enough, it's a recurring gag in the Gorgie Suite where I'll read out the teams and I'll say our match referee is Willie Collum, invariably it isn't Willie Collum, but I always get a boo. It's a bit like a panto, and I'll go, only kidding. He's at a human sacrifice, so he can't be here. So instead we've got, and you end up with some of the dross, and it is dross right now. I can count the number of good referees on one hand.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of them, and Willie actually, ironically, is probably the best referee in Scotland.
The better one, yeah.
And when you analyse it in the cold light of day, you can see that he gets more right than wrong. And one of my golfing buddies is a former official, and he's been telling me, because I'll be sitting during the match, I'd text him going, you are having a laugh, and he's like, no, you got that one right, because such and such, and I'm like, no, you're talking nonsense. And then you watch it again, you're thinking, actually, right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But some of them are just dross. So anyway, going back to answer your question, I like to be sat there, and I do now in my new seats up in the gods here, and just go, referee, that's shite, how can you do that, And then I sit there and I realise everybody around here recognises my voice, and they think I'm a professional, and here I am telling the referee how bad he is, and it's like, just, winding your neck, pal. Yeah. So no, I genuinely didn't want to do it, because I was doing the ice hockey, I was doing the basketball, I was doing various other events. I was still on the radio as well, full time. So I was 6 days on the radio, and the 7th day that should be family time, I think basketball was on a Sunday or whatever. My wife was very, very tolerant. So that's why I just didn't need any more. I was coming here for recreation, but if I'm coming here and I'm working, I'm performing.
Turns into a job, it does. Even if it's, I think we talk about that a little bit, becoming, you going full time as a sort of creator, as a content creator.
Great gig.
It's not a bad gig, but it does become work. There are elements of it where it does change slightly from a hobby or
you
like
make
a recreation.
Money from being a functioning alcoholic.
That's
the best gig in the world.
I'll drink to that. Another thing, again, it's probably resonated me as a wee boy, was the songs. You're saying you pick these songs. I've right up until this conversation, I would say I've always been under the impression that the player picks the song. So when I was a youngster, I thought, right, when I score, this is what's going to play. I'm going to be knee sliding down to the away fans with this song playing in the background. So players don't pick the song?
No.
Never.
Have they ever come to you and say, I want this
absolutely.
one? Yeah.
Who was Uchi? Did Uchi come? He wanted Pink as a Pink song, and it was really during COVID, because he kind of stopped scoring after he said, can you play that song? I've forgotten the name of the song. Why Not or something?
Right.
Anyway, whatever it is. And he only scored once after asking me to play it, and that was it, and then he left the club. But no, the rest of them I made up. So I remixed, do you remember Biko by Peter Gabriel?
Yeah.
Just humour me and just nod.
I know exactly.
Like, these boys
the
are just straight out of school.
I know you can sing it actually, probably. To be
Biko, Biko.
And I know the player.
So I remixed it and made it Miko, and speeded it up and turned it into a wee techno song. And I thought that was quite clever. But the abuse that I got from Peter Gabriel fans, that's sacrilege. It's about Steve Biko, and I know exactly who it's about. But it's a play on words.
Yeah.
But that and other ones. Rudy, a message to you, Rudy. That's a bit of an obvious one. Brilliant. I loved when Gavin Riley was here, because the intro to The Life of Riley by the Lightning Seeds is massive. It's like 34 seconds, which is enough to play as soon as they score a goal until the kick-off.
Till the kick-off. Nice. Perfect. Don't even have to cut it. Didn't even have to cut it or anything.
No, not at all. Not at all. And certain newsos would get that, and they'd come and say, that was a really good choice. And I like that. Most of it would go over the head of your average fan, but it's interesting that we got a great reputation within the media, particularly for playing great songs.
Good music.
And people said, where do who selects them? I'm like, me. And that's why I played The Clash and the Buzzcocks and Eddie and the Hot Rods. Number one, they're great songs. I remember them from being young. And the average demographic at a football match is a 37-year-old hairy-ass male. Mm-hmm. So why would I play Girls Aloud or... I'm struggling to think of Dua Lipa. Is that finger on the pulse?
Looking at the youngsters behind the camera.
Indeed, the youngsters. Oh, you said Dua Lipa, right? I'm tuned in. Why would I play? Again, if it's a big song and it's got a good hook or whatever, yes, I'll play it. And I used to play younger, more up-tempo tunes like Calvin Harris when the boys were warming up, because they're youngsters as well. But the rest of it, I'm more or less pleased myself, and it's probably a sorry addition that you should be playing to the fans. Well, I am, but I'm a fan.
You pleased my dad. You did.
Yeah,
that's great.
And in turn, that my dad's had a huge influence on my music taste, so therefore
well, that's great.
Me as
I
well.
had a really great comment from the chief football writer at the Daily Telegraph, and I think it was either last season or the season before. It was during COVID, and they still had to have a stadium announcer, which is bizarre in the extreme. So I would just, select what I wanted, and I think I had the Blue Nile, I had Love and Money, I had, Scottish bands that I liked. And somebody had tweeted me that he had posted this, and he said, "Love coming to Tynecastle, undeniably the best music selection in the country. What a shame the football has to start." And I thought it was a really, really good quote.
That must feel nice though to have that. And actually, you touched on it a little bit there. What I find interesting is what else goes into it, because I think stadium announcer, I'm like, he turns up at 12 o'clock, kickoff's at 15:15, pick up the mic and read out the team.
If it looks that way, then I've done my job.
But there's a lot goes into it, right? There must be a lot goes into it. What goes in?
Well, number one, pronunciations of players' names. So before every game, I'll get the team sheet. If there's anything that's a bit unusual, I'll go to the media person for the visiting team and ask how to
write them out phonetically.
Yeah. And I just think that's the right thing to do.
Nice,
I took abuse last season because there's a lad that plays for Motherwell and his surname's Amaluza. And he came on and I'm like, leaving the field, number so-and-so, he's replaced by whatever, Beavis Amaluza. And it was all the sharp intake of breath round about me. Well, that's a bit disrespectful. It's the boy's name.
That's his name.
Yeah.
If you want, I'll put an accent on it and Amaluzer or whatever you want, but that's his name.
Add a couple extra words. I'm a big loser.
Well, indeed. But ironically, we had beaten Motherwell that day and he was coming on. It was just a time-wasting tactic or whatever. And yes, it could have been disrespectful, but it wasn't. It was that's the boy's name. But no, I do, particularly when we have like European nights. I used to, in fact, somebody reminded me of it on Thursday night. We played Zeljeznica from Sarajevo, and I wrote, or I got somebody to write it for me, and it was just a paragraph welcoming them at Edinburgh in Serbo-Croat, and I thought that was a really nice thing to do.
Details,
and then I played U2 Miss Sarajevo, and they all put their arms around one another and swayed, and I thought that was it, great, it's over. And then 2 weeks later I got a call to come into the club and they showed me a letter and it came from Zeljeznica just saying how moved they were that the stadium announcer had got, or rather that the club had gone to that extent to make them feel welcome. Brilliant. And that tickled me because whilst we're opposition, these poor souls had gone through torrid times in the years leading up to it with war and all that stuff. This is only football. Nobody dies here.
Exactly.
There's no bullet holes in the stand, etc. Come and chill out. Obviously, we want to beat you, but that doesn't mean that we want to, hate you.
Yeah, exactly.
Football should never be about hatred.
No,
it should be about
escapism.
Agreed. I don't mean that everything should be nicey. Absolutely not. There should be that banter, but much like I get people asking me the difference between Edinburgh football and Glasgow football. Edinburgh derby, you get the opposing fans in the Tynecastle Arms before the game, having a swally, come out here for 2 hours, they shout abuse at one another, and then they're back in the same pub dissecting the game.
And the vast majority of us go to work together on Monday, and it's never banter. Anything. It's a bit of banter, it's a bit of tribalism. But
Ministry of Banter, great name for the podcast.
MOB. We're changing the name.
So that's it. And so there's a lot of prep goes into it. There's a whole lot of prep goes into my guests in the Gorgie suite, because I'll obviously sign for Hearts and blah blah blah, and scored X amount of goals. Invariably, a lot of the stuff on Wikipedia is wrong, but I purposely do that. So Walter Kidd, I know that the numbers are wrong, but I purposely use the wrong numbers because it pisses them off. You said that to me the last time. I said these are exactly the same questions as the last time, so I should get entertaining answers. But that sort of thing, you do prep. Because I'll go to hospitality at other games and you'll get, "Oh, Simon, you had a great game." Well, aye.
It wouldn't be him.
Indeed. Probably the
not these
wrong
days.
Choice,
maybe 10 years ago.
Metaphorically, but you'll go with a closed question, or you get somebody, a shy player like Jamie Walker. Jamie hated being interviewed. But he was a great talent, and so he would get wheeled in, and he's like a rabbit in the headlights. And if I go, "That was a great win for us," aye. And
you have to lead them. You have to lead them a wee bit down.
How tough was that? What did the manager say? What's it like? So who, what, where, when, why? Open your question with that, and that's what I say to young people that are coming through, and I give talks to colleges and schools, etc. And that's my advice. Do your prep before it so that you sound knowledgeable. Otherwise you can sound like a complete dog. And that was great. That was your first European appearance. No, it's my 7th actually, because I played with so-and-so, and it's like, nothing more embarrassing.
And what are the players like in terms of media training and these days? Are they getting more and more sterile? I think there's a danger of that. Sometimes you get these players that come out, they get wheeled out for their post-match, and it's the same trope over and over again, week in, week out. You can see
it. So Ben Woodburn, who came to us last year from Liverpool, he'd been media trained to within an inch of his life.
The big clubs.
And then he came, absolutely, and Ben, tough one out there today, but it was a win. And then we move on to the next game, and it's like,
it's the same spiel.
Absolutely. Whereby, you talk about media training, I did it back in my early days of doing this, and Robbo was still at the club, and I did all the players, and I was on the radio, and I would play audio, let them hear what they sound like, etc. And it was a long day, and I said to, because Robbo was the senior man, he's right, next player is such and such, great. And I said, how many's left? He said, there's only 2. And I said, who's that? He said, Dumb and Dumber. I'm like, who's that? He said, Gary Locke and Gary Naismith. And I said, which is which? He said, take your pick. And so in the game, we did them. And I said to Lockie, and Lockie was obviously a player at the time, and a good player, and invariably would get interviewed. And so I did a mock interview, and he had a habit of saying, definitely. And I go, Lockie, it's not a word. Maybe it's in Bonnevig, but in the real world, it's not a word. So I got him and using totally, absolutely, other great words. And
you have to remind them just before the interview.
Well, I didn't. But this was on the Thursday, and we played. I don't know who it was like Celtic or somebody, and we won. And Lockie was outstanding. And Chip Young interviews him after it, and I'm watching it. I'm like, oh please! And that was a tough game. Oh, absolutely, yes, no doubt, and we were great, very much empty, and I'm God,
like a proud dad,
and then naturally the next game he gets injured, because that's what Lockie does, or did, and it was about 6 or 7 weeks before he came back, and whoever it was interviewed him, I think Rob said, that was a tough game. Definitely.
He's forgotten.
I just hold up my hands. And I remind him of this frequently, because as you know, he's our principal ambassador, so he's the yang to my yin. And he's great, and he's just a proper Hearts man.
Who were the best? Who were the guys? Who were the loose cannons? Anybody come out and you're like, he could say anything?
Zal.
Oh really?
Oh, absolutely. He had that twinkle in his eye, cheeky, and he used to just call me Specky.
What a player as well.
All right, Specky. Oh, great player.
A legend.
And much missed. And he sent me, I think 6 months before he died, I get this delivery through the post, this massive box, and it's got these drawings of faces with people wearing glasses and Specky exclamation mark written. I'm like, who's this? And opened it, and he had sent me all these jerseys from his career, because the club was needing money. He had read about it, and he wanted to auction these off so that we could raise cash. I didn't know at the time that he was suffering, but latterly with texts that he would send me, and I look back on them now, and you could see it's kind of loaded. There's a clue in there if you want to pick it up. Yeah. And I said, look for me coming back. Oh, well, it may not happen, etc. I'm thinking, well, it just means that you're
busy
in
doing
other country.
Things,
yeah. But he just had that twinkle in his eye. Such a great guy. But you get others that come back now. Ian Ferguson, the good-looking one that scored against Bayern Munich, the Daft Pfeiffer. He's very, very good. Again, media trained. Andy Webster, tremendous. Yeah. What a speaker. Yeah. And these guys that have media training, who did I have on? Neil McCann. Had them on stage on Saturday after the game. Because they do media, they're used to it, and they're great. And probably the best one in the team at the moment is Andy Halliday, because he does that podcast with Si Ferry. Yeah. And he came in the derby, we'd beaten Hibs 2-1. And he came in, and he's still in his trackies, and he's limping. And I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? What's wrong? He said, oh, Scott, it's just my win bonus. It's weighing me down. Because the Hibs fans are giving them pelters, obviously, over 2016. And he wraps in 2 goals and wins the derby. And it was just perfect. And the amount of people saying, oh, how did you manage to rehearse that? I'm like, it wasn't rehearsed. That was just spontaneous from him, because he's a naturally funny guy.
Just an entertainer, naturally.
So there's a lot of them that are very, very good. Craig is just great. Craig's very, very dry. And I've known him since he was a kid. And he's just come on leaps and bounds. So he's great. He's a Hearts man, which helps a great deal. And your senior players, your Stephen Kingsley, your Nazy. Stephen Naismith is great to interview too.
Yes. Brilliant.
What about Cammy Devlin? I'll tell you a wee story why I ask as well. But tell me.
He's great fun as well. He's just exactly what you see on the park is what you get off the park, and he's like a dog. Okay, just before that comes out, that was an inappropriate statement. A dog with two tails. It wasn't the metaphor I was going to use, but he's like a dog with two tails.
It's a podcast, Scotty. You can say what you want.
Well,
He's hardly touched his whiskey yet.
Because I'm talking so much. And he's great. He's just so happy to be here, so happy to be playing football. And he's just a breath of fresh air. He's a bundle of energy. And that rubs off on the people round about him. And I know he let himself down against Rangers last week. But that's just typically him, and if you can channel that, if the manager and the coaching staff manage to channel that, he could be a great player.
It's the age-old one, isn't it, with these types of players? You can't take that away. You can't take that stuff out of their game because they lose the special stuff.
Yeah,
that's splendid. That's sparkling. Which one's still? Any of you boys got
still?
Yeah,
that one's still. I was going to say. I know we actually thought on the way we'll bring a wee pipette, but we forgot. No. But
again, I take that when I'm doing whiskey tastings. I'll take the 5 drops and I'll go. And people tell you should put 5 drops and then I throw it away. Going really. Right. No, this is the real world. I drink whiskey because I like the taste, and if I have it neat, then it's gone in a few sips. Whereas if I put water in, then I can enjoy it a bit longer. Drink it, and it opens the whiskey up.
Why were you going to ask? What did you have in mind? You almost launched into a wee story of your own.
Well, a wee bit, and this might allow you to have a wee sip. On Thursday night, just Thursday past, obviously disappointment in the European game, but me and a guy I know through the whiskey industry were out doing a bit of whiskey work and ended up, a bit sampling here and there. So these things happen, market research, that sort of thing. But we thought, right, it's football night, let's leave the cars and let's head into Gorgon. We've got a couple of pints. So I'm in the Tiny Arms and there's a whole bunch of guys all with Devlin on the back of the kit. And then it started to make sense as I noticed more and more of them had really bad mullets.
They were Australian.
Caps. they were Aussie, then I heard the accents and they were kind of trying to start Devlin chants in the pub and whatnot. So I ended up getting a blether with the guys and I was at school with them, they showed me all the photos of Cammy Devlin. They're like, listen, if it's a win, we're all going back to Devlin's. Come back to Cammy. So I'm like that. I came in, said to my dad and my brother, and I got one of the boys' Instagrams and whatnot. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be the biggest win of my life.
You're geared right up for a party with the players.
Party time with Devlin. So I was absolutely buzzing, and I kind of got the impression that, or everybody knows he's got that cheeky. Yeah. He's definitely one of the players in the team I'd like to have a pint with. But the guys, they sent me a selfie afterwards with Devlin, but it wasn't a night out selfie. And they'd also said they came over for 2 weeks. The first game being the Rangers games, and they're going effing and seeing the little this, the little that. It's just got itself sent off, and we've came to see him. We're supposed to have a night out, blah blah blah, but. And all respect to Devlin, he was like, no way, not after.
No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
No.
So they were like, so you better tonight's the big one. So you're coming with us. Whether he would have been there or not, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know.
I think if we had won, he probably would have come out, but I don't know whether he would have.
I don't want to land him in anything.
I'm not sure you'd have been going out after. You see these, and the players have got lives, and they've got to get on with stuff. But getting beat and getting sent off and then being seen
it ruins
out
the weekend
on the veranda, and it doesn't look great for the fans. No. Fans don't like it, but it's there's got to be a fine line. I saw one actually, and I think it was Man United. I think Eric Ten Hag, we got beat and he was out for dinner with his wife and he got hammered in the papers, and it was like. He was out in his local restaurant, in his neighbourhood in Hale, and it's like there's got to be a bit. What's he going to do? Just not allowed to eat for the weekend because you got beat.
Back on the topic of the Hearts and Hibs rivalry. Like my cousin, best friend, he's diehard Hibby, and we went for food after a Hearts Hibs game, and albeit the Hibs player wasn't playing. But we were in Hamilton's and Stockbridge, and he was sitting there, my cousin.
Furious.
How dare he?
Furious.
We've just been beat by a rival. He's sitting in here.
How dare he leave the house?
Correct. How dare you eat? You should be getting scoffable or just eat delivery.
Yeah, you're not allowed to leave the
Eats.
house till Monday.
Ridiculous. No, and you do get it a lot. And I've never been a player. I didn't make it when I was younger, but it must be really, really tough for them. When things are going well, yeah, it'll be great. Somebody like Pasquale Bruno, I don't think he's ever bought a drink in Edinburgh, and he never will have to buy a drink simply because of who he is. But it must be tough and going out and trying to keep a low profile. It's difficult enough for me, and I'm only a fan with a mic. I go into a restaurant and everything will be fine, and I'll order, and my wife will go, shh, this is my normal voice. I'm not being loud. This is just me.
Do you get that? Do you get people looking at him going, what is that voice?
Absolutely.
I know that guy.
I was on a flight and I had ordered, I don't know, tea or something, or a Kit Kat, and the person behind kept on looking round, and I'm thinking, what's going on? I'm not kicking your seat or anything. And we get into the flight, and he eventually turns round and he said, you're the voice of Barclaycard. And I said, He said, I phoned during the week, and he said, that where did I hear it? And I just said to my wife, I don't know where that's coming from, and that was it. So when you phone Barclaycard, I answer machine, and I do Barclays.
Is that right?
Yeah. So I get it a lot, and I had it again in summertime. We were in Turkey, and we met some people, and the couple were Canadian, and the guy's like, we've met before, and I'm like, I've never been to Canada. I said, no, something, and it was 2 days later, and he said, I know, because I'm the voice of Tesla in Canada, and he had heard that, and so he's hearing my voice over the few days, and we'd had sunbeds next to them. And he eventually said, "That's it. It's pennies dropped. You're the Tesla man."
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah, you have to tell us then. What
how does that happen?
Because you're the voice of
Voice of Heart. Yeah, Edinburgh Airport, Glasgow Airport, Stansted Airport. So if you're coming back through border control, so it's border control actually that the gig was for. And I tell you shouldn't be carrying knives, swords, kung fu stars, CS gas, because they're prohibited items.
Right.
Just in case. Just in case.
So I do that. I'm the voice of Pizza Hut. I'm the voice of Burger King in France, which is a bizarre one, but I've been doing it for a long time.
In English?
In English, yeah. I don't speak French. Funnily enough, I was talking to somebody about the airport announcements, and when we had the UEFA Cup final in Glasgow a few years ago, it must have been 2006, 2007, I did the airport announcements both in English and in Catalan. Because at the time I was doing Spanish lessons, and so yeah, I did that. What else? Yeah, Barclays is I've been doing that a long time. Richard F. Mackay, that'll be on my tombstone.
Yeah.
So I have won a Sony Radio Award. So like the BAFTAs for TV, the Oscars for film, it's the Sony Radio Awards for radio, and I had 20 years in radio, and I won a Sony Award. Now that pinnacle of my career, great. Does anybody ever mention it? Absolutely not.
Nah.
Scottish Radio Presenter of the Year 2 consecutive years. Does anybody ever mention it? No.
You're the Pizza Hut guy.
No, it's more likely, can you give me a discount on a settee? It's like, there's a sale on at Richard F. Mackay, and that's, I love it. It tickles me. But you better be known for something than ignored altogether.
Well, you just touched on it there. Actually, there's two things that come up a lot when you look at when we look at stuff on the internet. We Google you basically, and one of them is
this is like long before the podcast. This googling of Scott Wilson has nothing to do with the podcast.
Stalker,
huge fans. There's two things, and it's the voice of Hearts, and the other one that you say, and you came out with it there. I'm just a fan with a mic. That's what a load of nonsense that has to be. There's no way you can just take a fan out of that stadium and give them a mic and do what you did. You're talking about creating atmosphere. This is one of the best atmospheres in any football stadium in the UK, definitely in Scotland. You can't believe that. It's not just that. What have you got intrinsically that brings something to the table?
That's it, passion. This is my football club.
Yeah.
And the fact that a wee Jakey from Birdie House is given the trust by the football club to give a microphone in a live environment. And, I could say anything. There's times where I've wanted to go on the mic at the end and castigate the referee, but I realised that probably would have been my last game. But so you bite your tongue and you try and be professional, but that only comes with experience.
Yeah.
And so you get stadia that you go to and they've got a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old on the mic, and I've heard it at one. I'm not going to name any names, but this team were playing Celtic, and Celtic scored and goal for them after 78 minutes to score. And it's like, dude, I get that you're passionate about your club, but rise above it. You're a professional.
You have to,
and you have to do that, and that's why And again, when Clydesdale Bank sponsored the league, they had a poll amongst opposing fans for the best away ground, and Hearts won it 4 years out of 4.
Yeah.
And again, number one, the atmosphere, but number two, because we treat them with respect.
Yeah.
I might not like what goes on in that away end, particularly when the Ugly Sisters come to town. I abhor what they stand for, but they're guests, they're customers.
Yeah.
Particularly Hibs as well. I find it quite easy to push the buttons there, but when I was on the radio, I was aware that there was 3,500 potential listeners to my radio show. So whilst I would, gently poke the bear, I would never go over the top. And the feedback I get most from Hibs fans, and ironically, they book me to speak at Hibs dinners just so that they can book me. I love it. I love it. And I get paid in notes, and it has to be paid in tenors, so that I've got this huge wedge of cash. And the first time I did it was just after the cup final, and I had written my intro for the chairman, and I knew that I was going to get pelters. I didn't expect it to last for 7 minutes, and I'm on my feet and boo, 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 and
are you giving it like that?
No, I'm just standing and I'm smiling, and then when the booing would go down, I would take out the money and I'd start counting it, and they just go tonto, and eventually it calmed down, and I said, "You've paid me a whole lot of money to speak for 30 minutes, and you booed for 7. I only need to speak for 23 minutes. That's all." And push the buttons, and I wind them up, but I always finish by saying, "I'm an Edinburgh boy, I support an Edinburgh club. You're Edinburgh boys, you support an Edinburgh club. We shouldn't be, banter's brilliant, and it should never be taken away. There shouldn't be hatred between us. Save the hatred for the Muppets that live in Edinburgh but go through the week to support the Ugly Sisters." And I get booed on, and I get a standing ovation
at the end.
And I walk out with this big wedge of cash, loads of money, and it's great. But particularly the Hibs fans, the atmosphere that Hibs bring, Aberdeen as well. Aberdeen are colourful, they're noisy, they interfere with livestock. They're great from that perspective. But Hibs particularly, yes, I would gently noise them up. And I remember we had a derby here. And I think it was my 50th birthday actually, because they presented me with a shirt with 50 on it, and I brought out. Was it Pasquale Bruno? No, it wasn't he. Who was the other Italian? Anyway, let's say it was Pasquale. So I bring him out first, who's been sent off more in an Edinburgh derby than anybody else. I made that stat up because it was entertaining. And then I brought out Paul Hartley, man who scored a hat-trick in an Edinburgh derby. Paul Hartley, so they're all kind of gently booing. "What's better than scoring a hat-trick?" "That's right, scoring 4 goals. Welcome back, De Vries." And the natives are getting really restless. "What's better than scoring 4 goals in the Edinburgh derby?" "That's right, scoring 27. Welcome the hammer of the Hibs, John Robertson."
Yes.
And this time they're absolutely rabid. And all I said, everything was absolutely factual.
Yeah.
I was at that game, and I remember Paul Hartley came out and gave them the 3, then it was 4, and then Robbo gave it. Yeah, that was great. And
that was great, but I still get Hibs fans reminding me of that day, and dirty wind up so-and-so that you are, and it's a fact. That was it. So
good.
It's football. Nobody dies.
That's it.
And do you have you seen any negative effects of that? Where you say abuse, and I get that abuse can cover just negative banter and all that sort of stuff. But have you had have you felt uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable?
Just once at a gig, I do the Christmas parties at the Corn Exchange, and I had a drunk guy come up, and the only time I've had to call security, and he came up and he called me a dirty Jambo C, and I'm like, really? And he's like, and it turned out he was a Celtic fan, and then he spat at me.
Right.
And I just called security, and I got him huckled out. There's no excuse for that.
Definitely not.
No excuse for spitting anywhere. But I'm a Hearts fan. You're a Celtic fan. Deal with it.
Do you know? I think when you see it from young lads as well, at 17, 18, 16, 17, 18, that kind of stuff, it's understandable because they're young and emotional, and it means the world to you. I know, and we spoke about this recently. It means the world. Your football club means the world for you, to you forever. But especially when you're really young, I think you live and die. See, when you see it from grown men, 50-year-old men, 45-year-old men, it just
not edifying at all.
It perplexes me when it's just insane when you see it.
Yeah, I'm going to give away, hopefully, the hundreds of thousands of people that will be listening to this. Hopefully, none of them steal my idea. But I've always thought away days, and even home games, I would probably do it anonymously and try and get as many different fans as possible. Maybe an Instagram or a TikTok account where you just a quick 5-second clip of like a 60-year-old man doing just and not to disrespect her, but to show the passion in that, like, and how funny it is when you look at it from a real literal, like, you're standing there, you don't know any of the guys, and you're giving it this, like, whoa, like that, and then you're away to, like,
we've all done it.
Go tuck the kids up in bed in a couple of hours.
Absolutely.
And I do think it would be really, really funny to
just hold the mirror up a wee bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Just hold the mirror up
you
a wee
walk
bit.
up to a distillery, and here's the marketing manager, and you're thinking,
I saw you in
your face. Did you know? You're wrapped in a Union flag or something. Something offensive about the Pope. Actually, 90-minute bigots.
Yeah.
I used to work beside one at a radio station, and lovely guy, nicer man you couldn't meet. And I said, "Oh, go to the football with you." He wouldn't like that. He was a Rangers fan. I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "I'm a 90-minute bigot."
Oh, they would never dream of it out with. But as soon as you sit down, as soon as you walk into that stadium, it changes.
He wouldn't say boo to a goose, but as soon as he followed his football team, switch gets thrown.
Crazy, eh?
Remarkable.
It is remarkable.
But I was trying to. Who was I describing it to? Maybe you, actually. I was like, football becomes this, and it really is like that. From the same city and whatnot, it becomes this religion. It becomes this, like, your army, your house, your castle, and then you can't pick. If I wanted to, now there's no disrespect to my love of Hearts, if I wanted to pick that, success, winning games all the time and winning trophies and whatnot, then I wouldn't be a Hearts fan.
Correct.
Hearts picked me, if you like, and I think it's. Majority of people that you speak to, it's like, it's generations, or there's something that happened in your life that the team picked you, and I think that's probably for me what makes the difference between even like my friends that travel from Edinburgh through to Old Firm games. I'm like, you've seen more success than I'll ever see if I lived to probably 1,000 years old being a Hearts fan. Do you know what I mean? And they're only 25 years old. So there's that. The point I'm trying to make is probably more just the.
It's the old one, isn't it? But you could pick everything. You could pick your
Absolutely.
family.
Yeah,
you can pick
your glory hunter.
You can pick your job. You can pick everything.
Hearts pick you, and it's a roller coaster.
You can't
the
pick a
highs
football
are really
team.
high, and the lows, and there's a lot of them, are low.
You can't pick your football team.
No doubt.
If it was put on a,
I'm just seeing you're on an empty. Do you want to?
How rude.
Do you want to get on the Pedro Jimenez?
That'd be lovely. No, Pedro Jimenez.
Sure?
Great idea. Lovely.
I think it'll be absolutely.
How rude to have a guest with an empty glass.
That's horrifying. I know. I was looking at it thinking I need to get that topped up. So, yeah, there we go.
do you want to get a wee look at that one?
I would, absolutely. I haven't. I haven't even seen it in duty free.
Oh, it's a stunner.
18 years, lovely.
Yeah, we thought that would go down well with it.
There's another one bottled in Tullamore. Sorry, I'm being.
No, do your thing.
Brilliant. No, there's something about that, and I love the colour as well. Look at that, isn't it? It just makes you want to jump right in.
It does.
Beautiful.
It does.
Yeah, fire it open.
It's a bit of a we're right Indian givers, me and Simon.
yeah.
Life's for living. Good whiskies for drinking, not for looking.
Do you want to open that gift I just gave you so we can all have a taste of it?
I just made a bid. I don't know if you remember. You will be a member of the Macallan Club as well.
Yeah.
And they had they released the James Bond
007
ones, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I entered that, and you have to put in your credit card details.
It's going to hurt the bank account if you get all six.
660 quid.
Yeah, well, I think I went in for all of them. My wife's going to give me pelters if I get all of them. I'm going to pop this actually. You're better at it. You pop it into the mic. It's your speciality. Oh, that was better than mine. You did.
Of course it was.
Every week he does it.
Magnificent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I think if you get all of them, you're in for a hefty bill.
So I've got a good friend of mine who lives in the same village, big whiskey fan, but a big Macallan fan.
Yeah.
And he phoned me a year ago in February. Scotty, I'm up at Macallan, and I'm launching this new expression. I'll not do Freddie's voice there. And he said, "Do you want a bottle?" And it was it London? It was London. So they're doing London, Paris, New York.
That's right.
And London. And I said, "Yeah, I've got a few quid." I said, "Go up to 500 quid." No. It's 2,400. I'm like, "Nah, Fred, I can't. Absolutely not." So Fred bought a couple of bottles. Phones me this February. "Scotty, remember I phoned you last February?" I'm like, "You phone me every week, Fred. What's your point, caller?" I said I was at Macallan. I said, "You wanted 2.5 grand. I wanted 2.4. let's not
What's
split
it going
hairs
for
with
now?
that.
10? Going for
What's the
10 now?
point? It's now 10,000 quid in February, 12 and a half in March.
Yeah.
And I didn't. So he comes to me a few months ago, they're launching New York.
Right.
So he said, I've spoken to a person within Macallan, shall remain nameless because we're obviously on the podcast.
Well done.
We'll get that
Contacting Macallan.
And I'm told that I can get 3 bottles. Would you like one? I'm like, yes, absolutely. Go for it. No problem whatsoever. And he goes up and he phones me on the way down. He's in the car with his son and he's spitting feathers because, no, they've gone. They've gone. So whatever it was, a limited edition, let's say it's 522. 22 were staying in Scotland, 500 going to New York duty free.
That's right.
So Fred then flew to New York. I saw him here a week later.
We've done the maths. We've done it. Look at the flights.
That's it. And he said, no, I've got New York. I said, you're going for a holiday? No. He said, in and out same day.
Pick up 4 bottles of Macallan.
That was the aim. And he gets there and they're all gone.
Have you seen the price of those ones now?
What I know,
They at the first auction, I mean, they were touching 20 grand. Those Macallan New York.
I've got the folio. I've got an edition in a folio.
Lovely.
So I entered the
Which folio
the
have you
draw
got? Do you know?
5. 5. I wanted 4 because 4 has bagpipe music on it, and I play the pipes badly. And I really wanted that, but I missed out. I was saying that to my father-in-law last night when we were having a wee sesh, that I had put in, I think, I have 12 email addresses myself, and I'd entered with 12, my son, my daughter, my wife, my in-laws,
next door neighbour.
And then in number 5, I put in 1 entry, and I get the edition, the purple one, and I get the folio, the one with the deer stalker on the top.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's sitting on top of my whiskey
Lovely
cabinet.
then.
And I think that's about 3 grand now.
Yeah, they'll just keep going as well. That'll keep climbing.
So we're in Dubai, I think 3 years ago, and my wife wants this Chanel perfume, so we're walking down and they've got a Macallan shop in Dubai duty free.
Yep.
And in the window, folio 4.
Lovely.
$330.
Jeez,
300, and like we'll go, no, well, can we just get my perfume? No problem. Go and get the perfume. We come
You've
back.
not even let that out your sight.
We've come back, and gee, thanks very much. American walking out my bag. I'm like, hello, nice to see you. I said, can I have that folio 4? I said, what's funny? That gentleman just bought the last one. I'm like, it's not funny in the slightest.
There's nothing funny about that.
$330.
Oh my
hello.
goodness. I tell you what,
Wow.
Harvey here is an absolute magnet for those ballots. Wins them all.
Yeah.
I can't get near them.
I do get lucky.
I can't get near
I've
them.
made some good friends in some places as well. So there's certain whiskies that I do feel.
And Macallan's not, in my humble opinion, not even the best whiskey in the world, but it's the best marketed.
Oh, it's absolutely,
it
of
is.
course.
And there's actually, touching on the James Bond stuff, there's a few rumours I've heard that, now, I don't strictly believe it, but this could be the one that ends the signing up for every single ballot, because the fact that it's with James Bond, they're going to have paid a shed load of money to team up with James Bond. So it's certainly not going to be a run of even 1,000 of each bottle or 5,000 of each bottle. I just don't think it's going to be sustainable for the amount that it's cost them. So every single bottle is a different.
Decade.
Every single bottle is the same liquid.
Yeah.
And the 3 decades, the 6 decades are. Different packaging.
Yeah.
So I just wonder. I'm the same as you. I sign up for them all.
Sign up for them all.
Trouble if it comes in, it's a $3 bill.
It's a chunky bill, right? It's a chunky bill.
I can't afford $3.5 grand worth of whiskey, but you're thinking I might get my hands on one. But
I'm gonna have one go on speed dial if I win that ballot. Pay the mortgage.
I know. But it's one of them that this could be one that slightly changes the ballot game.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah, probably. And it has to burst at some point. So. It's not particularly viscous, that, is it? The tears are quite light. I'm surprised. It's very floral, isn't it?
I'm still on the.
Oh, you've not tried it?
I'm still on the Madeira. I'm still on the Madeira. Yeah.
It's like,
how does that compare to the...
I've not tasted it yet, but certainly, the other one was very rummy.
Yeah.
This is dead light and floral, and if this was a blindfold taste test, I would say this was probably like a Lowland, like a Glenkinchie.
Right.
It gives that, or like an Auchentoshan. It's very light, very floral, very flowery.
Well, it's
buttercups, daisies, that sort of thing.
You've got lavender, mandarin, fig, and clove here.
I'm not getting
That's what they reckon.
I don't know what a fig smells like.
Honey, vanilla.
Only taste fig and figgy rolls at Christmas.
I love fig rolls.
That's so
It's a bit
funny
like
you said
dates
that.
or something.
My wife brought home fig rolls for the kids the other day, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've not seen them in years, and the kids never got near them. I was like, I absolutely love them. I hammered them.
That's really light. That's sounds really weird, but that could be an aftershave.
Really?
That's
yeah, I'll need to get into that.
Yeah.
wow.
What about the whiskey stuff? You've got the blog.
Which is, come on.
Let's go. Let's plug
dramdejour.com. Undergoing a revamp. My whole web existence, my whole web presence is being redone at the moment, and the guy that's doing it, Big Jambo, great magician as well. He's done a really, really good job of it, and he said, Dram de Jour, it's amazing.
Who is it?
It's going to be Jody Gregg.
No, I was going to say I know another guy that does all magic tricks. That's into his
Elliot Bibby.
Andy. I can't, his second name escapes me now that I've got a camera pointing in my face. But he's similar. So I thought it might have been the same
He's
guy.
great. So yeah, he. I had him as a guest at Hospitality, and naturally, because it's a complimentary bar, people like to drink their body weight in beer.
Oh, of course.
And they're far more honest after it. And I said, what do you think of my website? Shite. I'm like, oh, right, okay. So, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. I can help. And he has. And he's redesigned it. It's really, really good.
And what have you been doing so far? It's a lot of tasting.
Dram de Jour is just tasting, and the reason that I started it is because a lot of the whiskey stuff on the web I found really pretentious and forgive the phraseology, but wanky.
Not at all, yeah.
I've got friends who want to like whiskey but are afraid because they'll nose it, and a lot of them I'll have them round to my house for a tasting. I'll go, what do you smell? And they're like, whiskey. Right, okay, very good start, but get over it. What I normally do, give them a Glencairn, ask them to put their hand over the top, do that, and then inhale it, as if you're rubbing in sanitizer, and inhale it, and that obviously prepares your epithelium for what's going to come. And then you get them to nose it, and suddenly, right, still whiskey, etc. Oh, right, okay, I'm getting that. Obviously, the power of suggestion, you'll go, you must be getting vanilla or coffee. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The power of suggestion helps, doesn't
Massively.
it? It does help.
I tell a story when I'm doing tastings, and a lot of the ones when I'm doing tastings, you get people who are really uptight, and I did one quite recently at a really select venue here, and very much ABC one, and I said, here's my philosophy. I'm going to introduce you to 5 different whiskies tonight. I'm going to ask you to nose them. Whatever you smell is the right answer.
Exactly, yeah.
If you get burning car, it's a burning car. And you could see their shoulders go.
Yeah, because there's the fear of sounding stupid.
It's like wine. Now you've done the wine course, so you get a sommelier, and you expect the guy to be uptight. His knowledge is great, but could I have a Chateauneuf de Pape? Oh my God, why are you having it? It's just, it's what I like to drink.
Leave me alone now.
Actually, can I have would you like champagne? Actually, I'd prefer Asti Spumante.
Well, some people, that's it. Yeah, if I prefer prosecco because it's peachy and sweet and easy to drink, then let me drink prosecco.
It's you that's drinking it.
I'm paying for it. I'm drinking it.
And you can draw a correlation with that and whiskey, whereby you drink your whiskey how you want. If you want to put ice in it, it's anathema to me. Crack on. It's you that's buying it.
Absolutely.
God Almighty, you put Coca-Cola in it. We were
slightly affronted, but I still believe it's your decision to make.
We were in a whiskey bar in Dubai, and speaking to the barman, the manager, and he came from Montrose. You're out here in the desert, Oh, yeah. How come? He said, you ever been to Montrose? And I'm like, no, I have been, it's quite nice. He said, aye, but it's either raining or it's about to rain. I'm like, okay, I get it. So we're having a chat about it, and he was a whiskey aficionado, and I said, what's your most expensive? And he said, it's like a pyramid, and up there, and it was a Macallan 50-year-old. And I said, how much is that? He said, it's $16,000, just over $16,000 a dram.
And how was it?
Well, I said I'd like to nose that. We'll maybe get round to that. Door opens, wee dumpy guy comes in, and 2 brick shithouses effectively, and they're at the end of the bar, and I hear them chatting, etc. And then the boy waltzes along, he gets a step, and he goes up and he gets a Macallan, and I say to Jimmy, I'll get to nose it. And I goes over and he looks at me, and if eyes could talk, it's like, big man, back to your seat. Okay, so I wanders back, and he pours a dram, and the guy's like, oh. So he gets a double. So suddenly we've got $32,000 in a glass. I'm like, oh, you must be a Johnny Big Time. Wow. And then I hear our man going, are you sure, sir? And he's like, yeah. ice bucket.
No way.
No, he put ice in it. However, and I'm affronted. Gillian's going, just leave him, I've nothing to do with you. And it gets worse. And are you sure, sir? Okay, opens the chiller.
He's not pulled a bottle of Coke out of the fridge.
Can of Coke. Not even Diet Coke. Full fat Coke. So he's got a double.
It does make you wince a wee bit, doesn't it? You can't help it.
32 grand of whiskey, probably it's Dubai, so probably the same again for the Coca-Cola. and he does it, and next time he's literally necking it. He's like, you never even tasted that part. And then, again.
That's money. That's money right there.
And he pays in cash. He's a
60,
Russian oligarch.
64
and the two
grand.
guys at the side are his heavies. He does it and he goes out. So he's in the bar 6-7 minutes tops.
Bloody hell.
Unbelievable.
Do you mind if I dip into this, Scott? This was a gift for you.
No, carry on,
sure?
crack on. It's a lovely gift. I'd be intrigued to find out what you get. It's so floral. I've not even tasted it yet. Really, really good. So yeah, I'm going back to the blog.
That's a beauty, that.
Trying to make it accessible for ordinary people to get into whiskey. Hopefully I've achieved that. And I try not to be derogatory. I don't, slaughter a whiskey. If it's not for me, it's not for me. It might be for somebody else. But I try and accentuate the positives of everything.
And it's so interesting. We had a very similar conversation on the Zoom a week or so ago when we all had a half an hour on the Zoom. And I think something that we've done, and it's just been a natural, the way that it's come about organically, is that we're the same. We're not whiskey experts. We've never professed to be whiskey expert. We're not out here sort of on our live streams telling people we know everything and you're going to listen to us. A lot of what we're doing is, okay, this is what we know. Like, what do you know? Bring your knowledge. Bring what you've got. And we're always asking our community about what you're drinking, what you like, and what you're not liking. And I think what we've done is just create exactly what you're talking about. Is just that really honest and intrigued and curious, truly curious community of people who some of them, and we talk about it, have never bought whiskey out of anywhere other than a supermarket. Wouldn't even know where to go or what to buy.
Asda right now, because they've got Old Pulteney at 24 quid.
It's great.
Tell us, did you try and get yourself a bottle of Glenlivet Caribbean Reserve for $2.99?
Yeah, I bought 30.
Hello, I'm from a council estate.
As soon as that happened, was it Sainsbury's? Was it, or was it Morrison's or something?
Morrison's.
The messages, it was every WhatsApp group. Bing, 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 bing. They fucked up on the website. It's £2.99. Get in there.
Click and collect. My dad was like, boom,
collect. Just cars full of middle-aged men standing outside Morrison's.
Funnily enough, my father-in-law was talking about it last night, and he, like me, 20 years ago, I was a grouse drinker. In fact, since I was 15 or 16, I used to drink lager at the time, but I'd have a grouse and lemonade, and I'm now, my palate's matured, and I drink heavy or IPA, and then I've matured on to malts, and I've introduced my father-in-law to this over the last few years, and he's getting really, really good at it. And he was last night, I went in after my gig because I'd been talking a lot, so I needed a dram for medicinal purposes. And he was cheesing. I'm like, what are you so happy about? Wait till I show you this. £24 in Asda. So we had the Old Pork Day, we had the Dalwhinnie last night, we had the Bunnahabhain Stúradú. That's just a dram.
It's lovely.
Just a dram. And I can swear,
I've tried that one actually.
Absolutely love Bunnahabhain.
Salt on the top lip. And it was funny because I was at an exhibition 2 weeks ago, and boys from Distell, who are the company behind it, he had a Bunnahabhain polo shirt on, and I was talking about it, and he smiled, and he's like, why do you think? I said, well, you lay it down beside the sound of Isla, and you're obviously getting the sea air, the salt air.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you were talking about the power of suggestion.
Yeah.
And I was at a tasting a couple of months ago, and I said to them, this is Talisker. The box has crashing waves and a boat on it, and the strapline is made by the sea. Mm-hmm. So I pours it out. What you get? Oh, I'm getting seaweed, and I'm getting iodine, etc. Right? Okay. So I explained with Bunnahabhain, it's actually distilled, it's bottled, and it's laid down right beside the sea.
It's in the water, basically.
Talisker made in Skye, and then it's shipped by tanker to Leven. It's actually 7 miles from the sea, so it needs to be a hell of a storm to get all that, the iodine, etc. But it's the power of suggestion. Yeah,
and I'm a huge Talisker drinker, and I get it as well. And I know that, I know where it's bottled, and I know where it's rested, and I still get that same thing. Oh, so I get the sea mist straight off that. It's like, really? Do you? What sea mist? It's never seen sea mist in its life.
It's never seen the sea.
Never seen the sea in its puff. That is interesting. It's so much lighter. So much lighter.
How does that fare? Do you, from your experience, money to quality?
Doesn't necessarily
doesn't
equate.
correlate.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Same as us.
I agree,
I always, like Simon's just said, I certainly would never say I'm a whiskey expert. Always whiskey lover. I actually wanted to love whiskey before I even would say I liked whiskey because heritage. There's that. Just my granddad, my dad. It was like, I've got to get in on this. I've got to.
Me too. That's when I discovered that my folks went on holiday. I was 14, so I had a few of my pals from school round, and we opened up my dad's drinks cabinet, and the only thing I'd been allowed to drink up until that point was Advocaat and lemonade. But my
on
dad,
Christmas Day.
and I'm like, there we are, the Holy Grail, VAT 69. I'm going to try that. So I had it, and next thing I remember is one of my older brothers turning up, chasing all my school pals out and putting me to bed because I was completely sparkled, and it kind of grew from there. But exactly that, I wanted to like it.
Same here.
My son wants to like it, but he says it's like aviation fuel. He doesn't get it. But
It takes
not
time.
a big drinker at all.
It takes time.
My daughter, however, when she was wee, she would get bathed for bed, and she'd come down in her jammers and come down to get a cuddle and stuff, and she'd always go, "Oh, what are you drinking, Dad?" So Lucy can tell the difference between a malt and a blend, and has been able to do so since she was about 4. Now, before you call the authorities and the social, she's not a big drinker either, but I think that's a talent. It's a life skill.
Of course.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And so my kids have always been around it. Neither of them drink heavily. My wife now, because I'll have a dram at night and I'll go, "What do you smell there?" And her nose is developing, and she's
That's
picking
so
up all
interesting.
these nuances on it.
That's so interesting.
And I just think it's awesome. And the more people that feel that whiskey is accessible, it's great.
And it's exploding, the demographic of people who are enjoying it, drinking it, and drinking it casually, but also drinking it in how what we're talking about, and that are going home and are nosing and are trying to get flavours and stuff out of it. It's just the whole thing's just going crazy.
What I found is the trouble with people that don't drink whiskey think that all whiskey's like Lafroig.
Yeah,
and trying to get them over that.
That's so interesting. Everybody thinks it's this peaty, crazy.
Said to
TCP
somebody last night,
thing.
they were talking about it, and he said, "Can I buy you a dram?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm driving tonight, but thank you anyway. What would you buy me?" And he said, "Oh, there's this white bottle there." I said, "Lafroig." I said, "I'd rather have a cup of tea." And I get it that people like that. I can take the aged stuff, so where are we, October? I did a tasting in August, and one of them was a Lagavulin 16.
Oh, by the way.
And it split the room. It split the room. There was no, isn't it awesome?
Oh my goodness! Sorry, I've interrupted you there.
No, crack on.
To express my delight at how good that is.
My favourite secondary maturation.
My eyes are watering there. That is stunning. Have you tried that yet?
Not yet.
You're into the San Pellegrino.
Up until I poured that into that glass, my favourite was Redbreast. You know the Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Redbreast had a limited edition Pedro Jimenez. It's called Redbreast PX.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was limited in duty free. I bought it, whatever it was, last November. It was limited to 1 per person, and it was €52.
Nice.
And it's the best ever. And if you can get it,
That's pot still. Is it pot still? The
Pot still,
Redbreast. It's wee pot stills, isn't it? It's wee pot stills, isn't it?
Yeah, wee stumpy.
Yeah. And you get so much more. See, when you get the pot still, you get so much more character, so much more depth out of the smaller stills. The wee copper pot stills. It's lovely.
Well,
that is
lovely,
absolutely
isn't
stunning.
that great?
That is stunning. That took me by surprise, honestly.
Yeah. One of my favourite ever drams, and it was on the same night as I tried the most expensive whiskey I will or have ever tried. We were up at the Dalmore distillery, but it was a Dalmore 18. Now we managed to sample again. Sometimes I'm unsure whether we're allowed to even tell the story.
No, I was just thinking that Stevie's going to kill us if we tell the story.
You've said his name now, so right.
Too late.
But I'll tell.
Sorry, Stevie.
I'll tell it anyway. There was a cask that was sold privately up at the Dalmore distillery, and it was that old they could pick it up and swish it about just at the bottom. Now there was a sample bottle taken out, obviously for the new owner or the purchasers to try. Now we got to try that. Now the cask sold for the yielding was. It was, I want to say, but less than 80 bottles of what they were getting, and it was £2 million. $2 million is what they bought the cask for privately.
Which right now is about £2 million.
Yeah.
And we sampled it, and I've.
How old was it? I can't even remember. 48? Was it as old as that? 46?
We got the year.
I can't remember exactly.
So the maths, I can't quite remember because we weren't given an exact age. It was in the 60s, something like.
Was it as old as that? Oh no,
60s or 70s.
It was bottled.
Yeah.
It was put in the cask then. Yeah.
But
it was 40 plus. I'm sure it was the late 40s, age wise.
The only thing that I can ever remember tasting was it tasted like if you held all the popcorn and shook out the syrup, the butter at the bottom. That is exactly what it wasn't whiskey. It wasn't.
It was an urethral experience. It was honestly a different
incredible.
experience.
Had it been in the cask too long?
No.
I wouldn't.
No.
No.
Well, Dalmore is one of those ones, and actually that was part of we did the Dalmore 40 as a prize, and actually it's interesting because I've had a Kalila 40 since, and the Kalila 40s.
Sorry, not calling you out. Sorry.
What, the Kalila?
Yeah.
Well, I know my wife's brother.
Yeah. Okay. Go
ahead. Oh, was it Kalila 30? Sorry, am I mistaken? It was a Kalila 30, and it just didn't hold up.
Yeah.
It just killed it, and
Sometimes
it wasn't great.
It's in the cask too long.
The Dalmore has just got that really rich sort of profile when it goes in. It's just got enough balls to get in the cask and last for 40 years, and it was stunning. It wasn't the experience
whiskey.
Just didn't feel like whiskey.
It really was. If you get us back, we'll see what we can bring.
By the way, how good is the mouthfeel on that?
Oh, honestly, I'm absolutely stunned
like
at that.
A big punch in the throat.
I'm genuinely stunned at that. That's tremendous.
The finish is like massive.
That's tremendous.
That's San Pellegrino, and Ansiata.
Very fruity, very fruity.
It's tastefully light.
This podcast could be this might actually be 4 hours because I'm not leaving until I've had another one.
I'm going to ask tech support kindly if they're able to give me some still water because I don't want.
I've got some sparkling actually. Is it close? I don't know where. Oh, there it is.
I just don't want to interfere with the old.
That's just massive. You were talking there, and I thought I'm not going to be rude and interrupt, but that mouthfeel, and it's got a kick on it. What's the ABV on it?
The 48.
I thought that lovely. But it's not a smack in the face that you normally get from something that's
no. And I always say there's a bit of a wee golden spot. You know, that 45 to 48 or 49. I think you've got a wee sweet spot there ABV wise. I think where I don't quite need water. But it's not too strong that it's burning my palate. But
when you think that this secondary maturation malarkey is only 20 years old.
Oh my goodness!
And
imagine what they're going to.
Lumsden at Glenmongie
That's right.
did it the first time, and everybody's doing it now, and that's my favourite. If I'm in duty frees, I'm quite a lot. Not because I'm a functioning alcoholic, but because I fly a lot. I'm a functioning alcoholic, but I functioning.
We've now got Scotty's number as well, so when he's in that airport, we'll definitely be on the text.
Absolutely. But it's always stuff that's been finished in sherry or Oloroso or port or red wine casks.
And what's your favourite generally? You think the PX is generally what you like to go for?
Undeniably, that's great. That's up there with the Caribbean cask. And as I always say, if there is a heaven, the rivers will run with Balvenie Caribbean cask. It is just the best ever.
That's one of the ones that I drank. Sorry, I've just talked over your little pot there.
We've done it.
The Balvenie, the Caribbean cask, is one of the ones that I just used to drink. That was my staple because it's just got enough about it to be interesting, entertaining, and enjoyable, but it's not so hard that it's like, oh god, 2 of them and I'm struggling. It's a beautiful, the balance.
But it's interesting how many Glenlivet did a Caribbean. What do they call it?
The Caribbean Reserve.
Reserve, that's right. And it's like a poor man's version of
sweeties. It's sweeties. It's all really rummy and really sweet.
Really
and a bit
thin as well, and the finish is like there, and then suddenly it's gone.
And I actually quite like Glenlivet. I'm a wee bit of maybe it's a bit of nostalgia or something because I think the Glenlivet's one of the whiskies that I probably drank when I was a bit younger. So I've got a bit of a soft spot for Glenlivet actually, but I agree that the Caribbean Reserve they've got. It's too sweet for me. It's gone too far down the line of the rum finish. But the Balvenie's class.
The Dalmore was 1979.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
That's the one I tasted anyway.
Oh yeah, you were there, of course. Yeah. All right, there you go then. So that had been. I don't even know if the 43 years. Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. 40. Fuck yeah! I felt the pressure there trying to do the maths.
Arithmetic's my strong point. Although I was off school the day they did long division, I'm really not going to do that at all.
Oh yeah, that does sound about right. We've 43, but it was so special. It was so
I'm tempted
special.
to tell a story here, but I'm aware that this is wide open, so I should maybe
Tell the story.
A friend of mine.
Tell the story.
A friend of mine.
What was his name? Where was
I'm not telling you his name. I'm not telling Big Jambo. Friend of mine. Let's call him Bob. Okay.
Bob the Jambo.
Bob the Jambo. That's a great idea. So Bob delivers stuff to my house. What, isn't it?
I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that.
I felt the same way. Like, I'm going to have to say something just straight away.
The mouthfeel. I'm kind of numb
salivating.
at the back of it. It's just, and when your tongue goes numb at the back, you're thinking either you've got something that's just really, really heavy on spirit and it's all ethanol, but it's not. It's just that's so lovely.
We need to get some good marketing shots of this. Of us all making sure that we're talking about how great this is. Because
apologies to the guests that are at the event that tonight I'm supposedly speaking at. I may not be particularly coherent, but I'll be having a good time.
Yeah. Sorry, Bob the Jambo.
Bob the Jambo.
So Bob turns up now, and I'm trying to sanitise this so I don't give Bob's name away. So Bob has delivered stuff to me, and I'm on. That sounds really dodgy.
We're going to have to carry on now. You're going to have to.
Let's say it's oil for my central heating.
Right, okay.
Okay. So Bob has delivered oil for my central heating. I'm on Teams calls all day, so Bob has sent me a text saying, delivered the oil and it's on your deck at the back. So quite clearly it wasn't oil, otherwise it would have been going through the deck. But however, Bob's delivered stuff. Let's say Bob's delivering coal.
Is this last week or is this 10 years ago?
No, this is this year. This is
right. Okay, I'm just trying to. Okay.
Bob, you know who you are.
Bob knows who he is.
I have a stove. So
Bob's watching.
Bob's delivered this. So I get this text saying, delivered your coal. It's on the deck along with a gift for you. So that's fine. So I finish the call that I'm on. I go down and I put the coal away. Anyway, okay, I put the stuff that Bob's delivered away. And there's an Evian bottle, a glass bottle. And it doesn't have Evian in it, and it has a brown liquid in it, and I'm like, oh, very nice. So I text him, I'm like, thanks very much. What is this? You tell me. I want your tasting notes.
Oh, lovely.
Okay,
so
I do. I know that it is just magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And I send it back. I say, this is what I'm getting. Da da da. It's obviously an aged spirit, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but you know, it's not young. It's over 25 years. Da 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 da.
Wow.
And it transpired it was a 36. Now, I obviously can't give the name of the distillery because it didn't come out the normal supply.
That's come out of a barrel somewhere that it shouldn't have.
Maybe somebody with several copper dogs down their legs or whatever. But he's given me this in the Evian bottle, and it was a 36-year-old malt, and it was just stunning.
Region? There's a lot.
Yeah, Speyside. Oh, absolutely. Sorry.
36-year-old Macallan.
Let's say it's a 36-year-old Macallan, because that's great, because it takes the focus about 12 miles away from where it actually should be.
Somebody's on Google Maps right now going...
12 is an arbitrary number, by the way. Okay, and it was just tremendous. And so I went online to try and buy a bottle. 2,800 quid.
Wowee.
So I said, can you get any more? And he might be able to. Excellent. But, you know, it's only now and then that he can get it. Probably when he's on weekends and there's not a lot of security around. But
it's funny, actually. We buy a lot of expensive whiskey for the competition side of the business. And it's so funny that how much our sort of understanding of value has warped in the last sort of 18 months probably, because I probably even a year ago would be, oh my goodness, 100 quid for a bottle of whiskey is, and then we're out there spending $8,000 on a bottle of Dalmore.
How much would you spend? You know, if I went out, if I had a special occasion like a wedding anniversary and I went out for dinner with my wife and went to a Michelin starred restaurant, you'd spend 300 and 400 quid and it's one night and it's gone.
Yeah.
So you pay 200-300 quid for a bottle of whiskey, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's going to last you, you know, a couple of months.
Yeah, and I think also what I started to realise is
Sorry, I kind of...
Did you mean days when you said
hours,
months?
I think you meant.
Sorry. If I weren't a functioning alcoholic, it would... And I'm not. That's just for comedy value.
But the level of enjoyment you're getting, that's it. The level of enjoyment you're getting for it. Like we talked the Glenmorangie Signet, absolutely fantastic dram, 120 quid. 130 quid?
It has bumped up a wee bit, 150 now, maybe.
So for 150 quid, you're getting an absolutely fantastic experience. Probably going to last you a few weeks, if not a few months,
I'll be honest,
when you're ready to have a wee dram here and there. So is that value? Probably is.
What's even better is when your wife works for Glenmorangie and you don't have to pay all that for Signet.
Who's this? Who do we know?
Somebody whose wife works for Glenmorangie.
Oh well.
Tell you what,
Some contacts in this room, I tell you that. Some contacts in this room.
No, it's great, and you know, you get that everywhere. If you've got somebody that works in there, and they're allowed to buy it for friends and family.
Yeah, you get a discount.
it's
great.
It's great, and you would, you know, ordinarily, if I hadn't tasted it, would I pay 180 quid for a bottle? Probably not, unless I'd read notes, and it's like, that's really intriguing. I prefer to go into Diggers. Diggers got a wonderful selection of malts.
Yeah.
And there was one, I've got a bottle of Winter Storm.
Yeah.
So one, was it number 4? Was it the experimental range, number 4?
Yeah.
Great story about that, I'll come back to it. But obviously I haven't opened it because I can't remember what I paid for it, but it's obviously worth a whole lot more, and it's in my display in my whisky room.
Have you got
and,
the whole,
I had
all
it
of
in the
them?
Diggers, and it was actually quite disappointing. It was 16 quid a dram. It's a lot of money to pay for a dram, but I thought rather than crack the bottle, and I tried it, and it didn't live up to expectations, whereas the XX, I really like that, the IPA, and I was in, and as I said, William Grant are customers of mine, and they were telling me about this experimental range, and one of them was they wanted to take a cask and they wanted to put in the seawater and see what happened there. Nice. And I'm like, okay,
that's interesting.
You know, you're doing it in a harbour. No, we're going to do it on the seaside. And I'm like, it's tidal. Aye, and your point is, like,
you have to just tie it to a buoy. Just tie it to a buoy and put it out in the sea.
No, but they didn't, and the thing crashed and burned. So that's why there's a gap. So there's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6.
Oh, really?
And it's Grand Cru's the latest, isn't it?
The €21.
The Grand Cru in the black bottle is the latest of the experimental range.
I think, as far as I'm aware, the experimental range had the
XX.
Orchard just came out.
Orchard
was recent.
That's right. Yes. But it was XX IPA.
XX IPA.
So number 3, I think, was maybe going to be this.
No.
C1, and then 4 was Winter Storm.
Winter Storm. Oh, I should know this because
we had the Orchard in our hand the other day talking about it.
The XX IPA.
Anyway,
that
was it, and it's just that people come up with these ideas, and you think, really good idea. If you get a seawater swimming pool, that's a great idea.
Or if you can deliver it, like if you can deliver it, it's a good idea.
Something that's tidal, where there's a clue in the name, tidal. It ebbs and flows, and may well smash your cask into the rocks, and the whiskey gets washed away.
And lo and behold,
who knew?
What would your experiment be?
What with whiskey?
What would you go for?
Good question. I don't know. That's a very, very good question. Number 1, I would be finishing it in something dark, like a rum or a port. And then what would I do with it? Would you put that in the sea? Because then you'd get that great question. I don't know. Never been asked. I'd need to give that some thought.
That's a good one. Well, and it's interesting you said you put it in something dark. I always think I'd like to do something like in a champagne cask or something like that. Something totally.
Which was Grand Cru.
Totally different, yeah.
The 23-year-old Grand Cru.
Is it a champagne finish?
Champagne, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. We've sort of talked about this before. I always think it'd be interesting. I've never really had anything in a champagne cask before. I think it'd be quite interesting to do it. So
for me, I think it's. My whiskey journey, if you like, is probably experiencing as much variety as I possibly can. So I would try and do something maybe more for obscurity than for flavour, to be told. Obviously, I wouldn't like anybody to sip it and think that is nasty, but I think...
Finish it in a ginger beer cask or something.
Yeah.
Root beer or ginger beer or Coca-Cola
Root
vat.
beer is the worst ever.
A Coca-Cola vat.
Have you drank
sarsaparilla?
Dandelion and burdock.
Sarsaparilla.
I love it.
Oh my God, Florida. I can't remember the year.
I like root beer. I love sarsaparilla.
Oh my God. And my late brother Tom was with me, and I don't know where the girls were, but Tom goes to the bar and comes back with two bottles of root beer, and I'm like,
tastes like deep heat.
You've never drunk root beer,
tastes
have
like
you?
deep
And
heat.
he's like, how do you know? I said, because you bought 2 bottles. Because once you've tasted one bottle, you're never going to buy it again.
Oh, I love the stuff. Love the stuff.
I suppose like sarsaparilla, but yeah, it's just.
I think that's what it is, isn't it? I love it. Tastes like deep heat.
Yeah, well, indeed, if you want to drink deep heat, then crack on.
Reminds me of the old changing rooms when I was a youngster.
Hey, that's maybe your thing, but crack on.
Yeah, it'd be interesting actually. Something different, but it's hard now because all these big guys, the big players, are pushing the boat out and doing different finishes, and they're all trying to push the boat.
And because I'm in the industry, it's white glove ones. It's super premium.
Yeah,
and that's the route that they're all going down. Bushmills is another customer of ours. They're about putting that line. probably shouldn't mention them actually. That's bad, but sorry, a well-known Irish distiller.
You can, absolutely.
Indeed. And other ones, and a couple of Scottish ones are putting them, and the people don't wear white gloves, but it's that inference that the bottles are each £2,000 or £3,000, and so they're manually filling them, manually labelling them, etc. And it's big business because it's out there, because people are quite happy to pay a lot of money for whisky. And I've got a few rare ones that I'll never open and you know, I'll hand on to my kids, etc. But I'm a great believer that good whisky is for drinking.
It's to be experienced with friends, isn't it? This is it.
Yeah.
This is the thing. And I think there are bottles. I think we've got some bottles. I think that we've got as long-term investment potentially pieces that is. Because we're passionate about it, and we're passionate about collecting and investing. I think the collection part of it actually is having those bottles at home and seeing your collection is more enjoyable for me than the investment side. I'm not too fussed about the investment side. I'm interested actually. You got a Glengoyne when you left.
Yes.
Hearts, is that a keeper?
No, it's crack.
Is it dry? I was going to say it's not necessarily an investment whiskey, but it's probably a sentimental gift.
Absolutely.
But cracked it open and enjoyed it.
Yeah, it doesn't have a special label. I got one for my 50th at a Glengoyne that is a personalised label, but it's a lovely, lovely dram. No, I've cracked it.
Lovely.
A special one I got, Anne Budge gave me a bottle. And
Queen of Hearts.
She is the Queen of Hearts, absolutely.
Queen.
So Anne and I,
if you're watching, Anne,
Eric, her husband, were sat, I think at Willy Ball dinner or something about 5 years ago, and we're talking about whisky, and Eric goes, "Mrs. Budge has a gift for you," and I'm like, "Oh right, what is that?" And she said, "Oh right, I have a cask of Springbank."
Oh, that's nice.
So I said, "Oh,
that was a nice one."
Oh, see, it was that I thought
both. It was both the Springbank
and the. She said, "Yeah, I'm going to bottle it next year." Actually, this was 2019 or something, so it didn't actually happen. And crack on. Thank you.
Stick it down.
That's good. Put that there. Yeah. And so she did. She gave me a bottle earlier on this year, and I did promise her I would do the tasting notes, and I haven't as yet. But it's splendid, and it's the Chair.
How old's that?
Chair at 23.
Oh,
really.
Well, I got a 22-year-old Springbank this year actually from the Campbelltown Festival. Which I've not cracked open yet because I saw the price on the aftermarket and I thought I might have to sit on that for a wee while.
There's always that dichotomy.
I might have to sit on that. I might have to because a bottle that cost you. What did I pay for? They did the wee trios, the little 250ml trios. I think I paid 125 quid for the trio, and then I saw them on the aftermarket going for 600, 700 quid, and it goes from being a 50 quid or a 45 quid bottle of whiskey to £100, £200 bottle of whiskey, and I think, oh God, I don't know if I'm going to drink that.
You'd still drink a £200 bottle of whiskey.
You would, but it's that size, and I'm like, how could you? Oh, I don't know.
Funnily enough, there was something I got from a distillery quite recently, and they wanted, and I thought, oh, I'll get that. I think it was 120 quid, but then it was like 20 cl.
Tiny.
Well, that's what they are.
That's
no, 200 cl.
No, 20 cl.
20 cl.
Yeah.
So they're just wee bottles, but I thought it was like a standard 70, and I'm like quite happy to pay 100 odd quid for that. But then I found it was 20. I can't remember who it was. Well-known distillery, and maybe wrong that I named them, but
no,
I thought,
you can name anyone.
That's not a great offer. But let's drink it. You're a long time dead, eh?
That's it.
Yeah.
What are you drinking at the moment? What have you got? What are you having?
What have I got? I've cracked open. Independent bottler that would actually do some work with, but this is 100% not
a plug.
Product placement.
It's not a plug. Look directly into the camera and tell us.
Product placement coming.
Tell us all about Weems Distillery.
The most delicious whiskey I'm drinking at the moment. No, it's actually spirit filled.
Spirit. Oh yeah.
We're doing a charity event in December. It's a whiskey and cheese pairing with Spirit Filled, who bottle their own Mythical Beast. It's called.
Oh right, okay.
And they've got a whole range from 32-year-old Feta Cairn, Bruichladdich 30-year-old, 15-year-old Glenrothes. I am missing out more because I'm not a salesman or a representative of the brand, but the 15-year-old Glenrothes, we did have a bottle, and I managed to nab another couple of samples. And it's this beautiful dark liquid, and I think it's out of the whole range. It's the most awarded.
Yeah, they got the gold medal and stuff like that.
And it's just It's just incredible. It really is good.
We need to get Scotty a sample for sure.
We'll sort it out. I
It's
like
lovely.
pairings.
That's mythical beasts, and actually, I think it's interesting you touch on that because I think both of us have got a tendency to move into independent bottlings because you're getting these obscure age statements. You're getting different casks, different finishes, different. It's all different from the stuff that's coming out from the distilleries. I think it's really interesting.
Clonelish. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I spoke here. We're on the top floor of Tynecastle, and we have the skyline. And I was asked last year to come and speak at a 70th lunch. And it was just after lockdown, and the lady said, my husband's lunch, like you speak, he thinks you're dead funny, etc. I'm like, must be a functioning alcoholic as well, but come along here, how much will it be? And I'm like, it's my first gig after it, I don't know whether I'm entertaining anymore, so I'm not going to take anything for it, so I'll try some new material. Anyway, long and short of it, does it, it's great, and she gives me this 20-odd-year-old Clonelish, and it was an independent bottling, so Gordon MacPhail or something
good
like
bottlers,
I haven't cracked it as yet.
Very
but
good.
I'm sorely tempted to
It's interesting. There's a few that I think now have the reputation of any distillery, and I think they're one of them. There's a few independent bottlers that you would put up there with anybody. In terms of what they're releasing.
Who is it that's just taken over Edredare? Forget.
Oh, you put me on the spot. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it on the podcast because I could be wrong. But their indie bottles have been that good that they've taken over Edredare, obviously.
World's smallest distillery, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, but
or certainly Scotland's smallest distillery.
I think it's the world's smallest Scotch whisky distillery. Anyway.
You've got an Edredare at home.
Yeah, I do. That's actually one of my collector's pieces.
Oh, really?
You should see this. You should see this. Drunken Master.
It's not for everybody. It was a collaboration with it was the 30th anniversary of Neo Geo, which the box is.
Is that a games machine?
Yeah, it's
the box is an arcade machine.
The box is an arcade machine, so you
It's
slide it
so
out. You've
cool.
got
That is uber cool.
It is so cool.
Yeah, I'll send you a photo because it is. When I saw it, we actually ran it as a competition. Had never heard of the collaboration. Didn't know it existed. I saw it. I was like, oh my goodness. It's like if anybody feels the same way I do just by looking at that, we need to run it as a competition.
Yeah, it's
and then
so
I promised, I was like, if I ever see that again, I'm gonna have to buy it. Budget or no budget, I'll just have to go for it. And I did. I managed to get it actually for slightly less than the most recent auction price, so I was quite chuffed.
Yeah.
The liquid itself, we've tried the same age with the same sherry. It's a sherry butt, so it's that beautiful dark.
What's the super dark Edredare that we sent?
It's the same.
Is it the same?
Yeah,
Have you seen the Edredares? The one that looks like it's dark purple in the bottle. It's a stunner. We sent that out to a prize winner.
Do you know what? Is it?
Have a look. Honestly, this is one of the most beautiful colours of whiskey you've ever seen. We sent it to a prize winner of ours, a guy who's been a long time supporter. He won a bottle. We sent it out to him, and he says, "Lads, I'm going to send you back some samples. This is unbelievable." And we tried it on Christmas. We had a Christmas night out. Me and Harvey, the only two employees of Whiskey Club. We had a Christmas night out, and we started at my house, and that's what we started on these samples, and it is stunning. But this bottle he's got is a beauty. Harvey told me he'd won it, he'd bought it, and I was like, "You bastard! I cannot believe you've never looked me in on that and went half-hours. You absolute git."
So it's purple.
Yeah.
The Edredare one, I mean, it's honestly that colour.
Good Lord.
It's honestly...
It's like Ribena.
It's incredible,
really is,
and it tastes like it looks.
Beautiful.
It tastes like it looks.
It's really nice.
It's incredible.
And it's only a 12-year-old.
12-year-old.
So what's it finished in?
I think it spends its whole maturation in sherry.
The whole time.
The whole time.
So it's not a finishing cask. It's the whole time. 12 years in sherry, but it's different. And that's it. That's the beauty of whiskey. Is right there. That is something different. There's nothing out there that's like that.
It's like Guinness.
It's incredible.
Exactly,
it is honestly black.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. You should look.
What's that taste? So have you tasted that?
Yeah. So the guy sent us up a bottle, and it's stunning. It just tastes like forest fruit. So I was like, it tastes like a compote. Do you know if you were to get a blackberry compote and just take a mouthful of it? That's what it tastes like to me. It was incredible. That's it.
There's my collection.
That's the Drunken Master. Look at that,
Man.
Pretty cool, eh?
I was gutted, Scott. Honestly, when he got it, I was like trying to, when you're trying to be happy for your mate, but you're a wee bit devastated.
That's so cool. And is that image from Reservoir Dogs?
I don't know what the image is from.
It's actually it's from a video game that I've nothing.
It's from some Japanese
I can't
video
even
game.
resonate with, but I just saw it. I thought limited edition.
That is magnificent.
And the wee joysticks in that are functional. The wee buttons are functional. It's cool as anything. It's cool as anything.
Oh, that's nuts. I love that.
Yeah, it's cool.
And 20 years ago, whiskey would have gone, the industry wouldn't have gone anywhere near that.
Yeah,
that's not what we do. Scotch whiskey.
It's not traditional.
And it's great because that's reaching out, and there's one of my customers has a line that runs 16 hours a day, and it all goes to South America.
Yeah.
And it's because whiskey amongst the young is the drink.
And that's it. We were talking about the investment versus collecting thing. That's probably an investment piece, right? You've bought that for a couple of £100 or a few £100. It's probably going to be more. It's going to be worth more in 10 years. Are you more excited about that doubling in value, or are you more excited about owning that? Because owning that is just awesome.
From my perspective, it's not my demographic, and I get it, and I get why you're excited, but, Neo Geo...
We don't know what it is either. It's just
really... Do you not?
No, we've got no idea.
No, I just saw the whole thing.
We've got no idea. It's just really cool.
I think it was targeted at the Asian market to begin with.
That makes perfect sense.
It's a single cask.
Yeah.
And which is actually why I think it's kind of so limited over here, because it was an event.
Like a Comic-Con or something like that.
Yeah, similar to that.
Can I stop for a wee look? Are you happy to keep going?
I'm happy.
Are you sure? Because we're at quarter past, but we're like
a catheter. Everything's fine. You can carry on. That was a joke.
We'll do a wee cut. Is that all right? I'm just going to go to the loo quickly.
Yeah, why not?
Sure, because I'm answering my pants and I feel like I'm.
Look at this. Two men in their 20s, man in the 60s, hasn't had a wee as yet. Wicked. Go on. Grant.
I just actually, do you know what? I just first and foremost, I just like to thank Scott for describing me as a 20-odd-year-old male. So I'm actually chuffed about that.
He's 10 years in a day.
He said 35.
Okay.
So Harvey and I are 10 years in a day apart, actually. So he's
25.
He's 25. I'm 35. So I appreciate the.
And the boy came up last night and he won a prize in the prize draw, and it was a bottle of Prosecco, and he came up and he looked about 9. I'm like, you're having a giraffe. I said, you legal it? Oh, absolutely. So I joked to the crowd that he was going to take it, and then he had double maths first thing on Monday morning, and he was going to crack it with his pals at the back of the classroom. I guess it's just when you get to my age, everybody looks young.
Everybody looks 20, that's it. I wonder, Scott, if we could steer the conversation back to football a wee bit, actually.
I'm sorry.
Go on, no, sorry.
I'm going to steal the conversation from Scott and for you.
Fire in.
And after a couple of drams, a question that I wanted to ask, probably something that I wanted to ask right at the beginning, but I feel like we've all loosened up slightly. We mentioned you rolled your eyes, but genuinely you were first on the list for me, especially because I've known you've just been a part of my weekend every single game. But there's probably out of the, like I was saying, thousands and thousands of people that will be listening at home. Who is Scott Wilson? What's your answer? Who is Scott Wilson?
It's a very good question. I don't know. I'm just me. I've always tried to be me. I try to be as humble as I can. I try to be as honest as I can. The honesty aspect, principally because I have a really bad memory, and if I tell a lie, in all likelihood I'll forget what lie I've told you, so it's much easier just to tell the truth. I'm just an ordinary guy, generally, that got lucky. And I always wanted to, again, you're obviously influenced by your family, and I'm one of 4 brothers. And interestingly, the only brother without a middle name, because it's 3 brothers above me and I should have been a girl. And so I had all these girls' names, and out popped this thing with a penis, and it's like, oh my God, we didn't plan on this. And so I'm the youngest of 4, and it was a bit of a surprise because my 3 brothers all have, I think, 3 or 4 years between them, and then there was 9 between me and my late brother Tom. And so Tom was a DJ, and Tom was into pirate radio in the 70s, and ran a radio station from our bedroom. And my mother, God love her, thought that Tom's pals were just coming up and they were playing records in the bedroom. And she never, and why would you wonder why there was a half mile
Ariel hanging out the window.
Ariel going out. It's what's called a quarter wave dipole for any boring techies that are listening, and it was a copper wire going out from our house to the house across the back garden. And Tom ran a pirate radio station, and my voice broke when I was 12, so I've sounded like this since I was 12. And I have a wee kid speaking like that, it's like, oh, what the hell's going on here? It's a bit freaky. Anyway, and so they let me read the news on this pirate radio station, which is called Radio Caroline back in the day. And so I got hooked, and that's what I've always wanted to be. So I was a kid, and both Tom and Jack, the next brother up, were electronic engineers, and that's what I eventually became. And my mother would come into my room and she would freak because there would be wires pushed into the socket, and I'd have whatever it is that I'd built or whatever it is that I had disassembled to find out how it works, etc. So I always wanted to be an engineer, something technical, etc. And that's what I became. So I'm just an ordinary guy, nothing special about me at all. I wasn't especially athletic at school. I represented Scotland at volleyball. I played football. I had trials with various different clubs, but I just an ordinary guy. And you know, I wanted to be like my brothers. I tried to do, when I was at school, unfortunately my parents both died when I was in my fourth year, so I had to leave school prematurely, and then I went to night school to get my higher so that I could get into uni. And I wanted to do maths. I couldn't get into maths because it was full, and the clearing people lied to me, and they said, we've got this brand new course, you'll love it, it's called Artificial Intelligence. And I'm like, right, okay, there's loads of maths in it. What else is, computer programming? I'm like, it's a bit faddy, computers. You know. And we're talking
AI,
late 70s.
That'll never take off.
Absolutely not. late 70s. And so I did it, and there were 19 people in my year, 19 in a whole university year. 18 of them wore Arden sweaters, had beards, and drunk real ale. And I was the skinny kid who was clean shaven and drunk lager. But I loved it, absolutely loved it. Went to a company called Ferranti.
Uni at Edinburgh or
Edinburgh,
in Edinburgh?
Nice. Forest Hill.
Okay. Yeah.
Sandy Bells was at the bottom of the.
Yeah.
I felt like a fish out of water in Sandy Bells because they were all dead musical. Like,
hipsters.
And I'm like, I'll have a pint of tenants, oh my God. Anyway, and at the same time I was DJing. I was a DJ around the corner at a place called Tony's Cellar Bar.
Right.
And you can Google that one. That's for another day. But that was a great experience in there. So did that, did uni, left there, joined Ferranti, trained as an engineer there, and then left there and went into, because people said, you're pretty good at talking. No shit, Sherlock. You'd probably be good at sales. And so I enrolled for this agency, and the company said, listen, you've no chance of getting it. They're looking for somebody technical, so you tick the bill there, but they want sales experience. So just go for the experience of the interview. So I did it, and lo and behold, they had a second interview and they gave me a job. So they took this guy who was entirely technical but could talk and turned me into a sales guy. And so I was with them for 7 years, and at the same time I was working part-time. I was a DJ at the weekend, but then sending demo tapes into radio stations, particularly Radio 4th, etc. Radio 4th rejected me 11 times. Principally because Tom was on the radio, but also probably because I was a bit shit. And I had a mid-Atlantic.
Did you get better each time, or was it just 11 shit times?
I'd like to think so. And I had the early ones, I had a mid-Atlantic twang, because that's what DJs had at the time. It's a Revive 45, and you listen back and like, oh my God, no wonder they didn't give me
We need to get hold of those tapes.
Anyway, kept on doing that, and eventually I got a break. So the same demo tape sent to Radio 4th, and I still have the rejection letter, and it said, thank you very much for the latest in your series of demos. We've come to the conclusion that you probably don't have a future in radio, but we wish you every success.
Wow, really?
And that same demo got me an interview at Radio Clyde and Metro in Newcastle, and didn't go down to Newcastle, went to Radio Clyde. I lied, not Radio Clyde, North Sound in Aberdeen. Went up to North Sound, and they offered me a full-time gig. And because Brian Burnett, you know Brian Burnett's on Radio Scotland?
No.
Great guy.
I'd recognise his voice quite
Okay,
possibly.
so Brian's an Aberdonian, great guy. Brian was going down to join Radio Scotland, so it was the evening show, 7 till 10. So they offered me Monday to Friday, 7 till 10, and Saturday breakfast show. And at the time, Robin Galloway was the breakfast show presenter on there. He was the big star, still a big star.
Still a big star.
And so the guy said, going to offer you this, da-da-da-da. So I'm coming home in the train and I'm trying to make the figures work, and we had just bought a brand new house, and I was working at Ferranti, and I was like, these figures don't work. So I went back to the guy and said, listen, thanks very much, but I can't make it work. So he came back and he said, right, we're going to give you £45 a show. Now this is whatever the year is, 1988. We'll give you £45 a show, and but I need you to keep it quiet because the breakfast show presenter's only on 42.
And you fell over
I was
whilst
like,
accepting the
my
job.
God, I'm just a wee jakey, and you're offering me all of this, and it's something that I really wanted, but we couldn't make it work. We were in a new house, and they're still building on the estate. We couldn't have sold it and made money, so I reluctantly turned it down. And then 6 months later, the guy who was head of music in North Sound moved to Radio Clyde and phoned me up. Right, come in. Boom, want you join the station? I'm like, okay, it's the graveyard shift. So it was 2 till 6, Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night.
£30 a show.
The money was academic because I only had to drive along the ME, and it was tickety-boo. Graveyard shift on any other radio station, it was 3 men in a dug. But this was the second biggest commercial radio station in the UK after Capital in London, and so it was a big deal. And so I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I did it, and I still have the air checks from it.
So when's that starting? That's starting
1988.
That's starting at midnight.
At 2 a.m.
2 a.m.
2 a.m.
So it's
Absolutely.
1988. You're waking up in the morning at midnight, getting into the office.
No, I'm waking up at 6 o'clock. I go and do my shift at Ferranti. I come home. I
you're
go
still
and I
right,
do a mobile
okay.
disco.
Wow.
I come home and get changed and drive through to Glasgow and I do a radio show.
Is he a radio station?
And I did it. And my first show, I'm following a guy called Tiger Tim Stevens, absolute legend. And I've got everything rehearsed. So Tim finishes his show, and I come on, and the news ends, and I fire in, and I talk up the intro, boom, 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 and it's a song called First Impressions by a band called The Impressions. Great way to start a radio career. These are the impressions and first impressions. And I look up to give an ear check, and Tim is standing on the opposite side of the desk, and his trousers are at his ankles, and he's mooning at me. Now, that was unbeknown to me, Tim's party piece, and he did it several times. Whenever we'd be doing live gigs, and Tim would just drop his drawers for a laugh. Lovely, lovely man. And anyway, it just threw me completely. And it's like, just push up the fader and pull it down. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, oh. So anyway, went on from there. So I went from graveyard shift, and then they have Super Scoreboard, so the big football show.
Right.
And during the summer, that obviously went on hiatus, and I went on daytimes there, and great fun. Worked with big names like Paul Coya and all that, who's still a friend. And from then, Radio 4 then came in 1990, because they were splitting and going from just Radio 4 to Radio 4th RFM and Max AM. And they came and they offered me a job and phoned me up, and I'm like, right, okay, what's the offer? Right, okay, let me think about it. And then I went back and like, nah, sorry, not enough money. And 10 minutes later, my brother phones and like, what, are you playing it? And I'm like, no, they've rejected me 11 times, screw them. I'm with the second biggest commercial radio station in the UK.
Absolutely.
You want to work here? I said, absolutely, I want to work
I
here.
do, aye.
How much do they want me? It's like, you flash bastard that you are. And I so wasn't. I was desperate. I would give my teeth to work for Radio 4.
Yeah,
But I thought, no, you've rejected me 11 times, and my ego's bruised.
Yeah.
Anyway, they came back with another £5 a show, and I'm so shallow. I'm like, right, okay, I'm in there. Went back to Radio Clyde, said, listen, need to go. And God love him, programme controller, no longer around, Alex Dixon, said, listen, I know you're an Edinburgh boy, but we really like you here. If you want to work at both stations, you can.
Oh.
Now, nobody had been offered that before. And I thought about it, but he wanted me to do Friday evening, which was 7 till 10, and then I was on the air on 4th at 6 a.m. on the Saturday morning.
That's a tough shift.
So we'd be getting home 11, 12, and then having to get up at 5 now.
Couple hours sleep.
So I reluctantly said, no, thanks very much, left Radio Clyde in great terms, went to 4th, did the breakfast show Saturday and Sunday, eventually gravitated to 10 till 1, Saturday and Sunday, and then the show on the Saturday particularly just grew arms and legs. So I was bringing in pals to help me out, and I was putting them on air, and they were becoming characters as well. So it was kind of zoo format before a zoo format.
That's so interesting.
So I had my pal Willie, who was a lifeguard at the Commonwealth Pool.
And you're just pulling in people. You're like, he's
Absolutely.
a character. I'm getting
Absolutely.
Willie.
So
we're going to see how it goes.
Lifeguard, and that's his name. But then it gravitated to Willie the Lifeboat
Willie
for some inexplicable reason, and they just grew arms and legs. And my pal Tom McNulty, who became Tom McNolife, because all he did was exist to be on the radio. And these people were then going into WH Smith and buying a paper and speaking, and like, oh my God,
I know you.
Tom McNolife, or you Willie the Lifeboat.
That's amazing.
And it just grew, and so forth then have a reshuffle. Everything's based on audience figures, and they had a look and it's like, my God, the biggest show of the week is this Saturday morning. Nonsense about bloody Playpen, because it didn't conform.
Brilliant.
I was talking over records.
Brilliant.
I was dropping adverts just so I could talk more, getting people on the phone, and it was just a riot. And so they came and they said, right, we're going to have a reshuffle. Would you like to come full time? And at the same time, my company that I'm ironically back working for, I had done so well there. They said, we'd like you to become a product manager for one of the products, but you need to move to Chicago. So I spoke to my wife about it. My kids were just wee at the time, and it's like, we've got a great support network here. Mm-hmm. It's a huge opportunity, but so is this, and radio's where my heart is. So I went with radio, left my company on really, really good terms, and jumped in and started. It was Scott Wilson's drive time, and it went nuts. Wow. Absolutely nuts. So effectively, that's who I am. A guy from a council estate, went to a bog standard state school, and I guess just got lucky.
Wow!
And it's been a
roller
coaster.
So
I know you're
you're very humble.
I know,
I appreciate that, but listen, you're great.
Humility is a huge part of my life, and the team that work with me, work for me. That's a massive part. Stay humble.
Yeah.
Stay humble. Never
Absolutely.
ever. We work for the biggest coding and marketing company in the world, and we could walk about like Johnny Big Time, but that doesn't do anybody any good.
Especially if it's not true to yourself as well either. You're not that guy.
People that you piss off on the way up are the ones that are going to kick you on the way down. And I think what exemplifies that is the treatment that I get from opposing fans, and I'll go to places and. If I go to Ibrox or Parkhead or whatever, people recognise my voice and they come over and they ask for selfies. Rather than coming over and want to punch you in the coupon. Yeah. And I've been 45 years paid, people have been paying me to hold a microphone and talk nonsense. I've never had a punch in the coupon yet. Now, if I was somebody else that had been abused by me, I'd want to punch me in the coupon. Yeah. But I've never had it, and because tongue's in my cheek, and like I said earlier on, I will never humiliate you. I might embarrass you, but I'll never humiliate you. And
I think it's so clear actually, just chatting to you that's your style, that's your way. It's they make fun of you, but I'm not gonna batter you. I'm not gonna batter you, but I'll poke and I'll prod.
It's a game. We're all playing a game.
It's all a game,
and let's enjoy it. It might be a Neo Geo game.
It might
exactly.
Yeah, I knew what the hell Neo Geo was.
I've got no idea either, mate. That bottle just looks
amazing. Needs to
amazing.
bring out a bottle with Super Mario on it, and that's my thing. Super Mario. Yeah. And my kids still talk about it. When they were wee, we had whatever it was. What was the first one?
SNES or
Nintendo SNES.
Aye.
So the grey box, and it used to be underneath the telly, and the kids would go to bed and I'd play Super Mario, and my wife would laugh because my leg would twitch because I'm trying to avoid Bowser and jump over all these mushrooms.
You're like this, like leaning over.
It's mental. And I still love it to this day, and that sort of thing. If you bring out one that's in a whiskey in the shape of a SNES box, I'm in there. I'm having it. I'm so having it. Particularly if you've got Bowser on the label.
That's so good. I was actually going to ask you, and I was looking at the reception you got when you left, the standing ovation and the fans chanting, and I just want to hear what that was like.
Jesus.
That must have brought a tear to
Well, I saw it on social media happening, I'm like, Connie no, because I'm just a fan with a mic. And,
because they said we're going to do a wee piece in the programme for you. It's going to be...
Well, that was the other thing.
That was the start of it.
I was in Ireland and they're like, can you answer some questions? And I'm like, can you just send me it and I'll do it in my hotel tonight. Why? Or we're doing a piece in the programme. Right, okay, no problem. That's very lovely, but that's grand. Answered the questions, and there was loads and loads, and a phone filled the next day. I'm like, how big is this piece? Well, actually, you're on the front of the programme. Like, fuck off. I'm not having this at all. Sorry.
How did you feel about that? What was it? What was that? Did you honestly feel genuinely?
Honest to God, I'm just a stadium announcer.
Oh,
Get
mate.
over it.
Nah.
It's not as if
So
I'm a
you're
Rudy
central
Scatchell
to
announcer.
people's lives. You've been there for 20 years.
I've got to interrupt. Right?
You go on.
I've got to interrupt. And again, I thought about saying this to you, and I thought, I'm not going to say it because you'll think I'm lying, but bear with me, and I'll tell the full story.
Go on.
So, when I was young, maybe kind of that...
young girl.
10, 11, 12, you're kind of at that age where you realise, now, this story, I'll get there, where you realise death is real, right? Where you realise that everybody is going to die. And you think this is insane. I'm a wee bit embarrassed. I'm actually getting red. So my dad had been kind of crying just at the thought of, so wait, you're telling me that my mum and dad are going to die, my grandparents are going to die. And I remember being at a Hearts game, right? I swear, hand on heart, it's true. I remember being at a Hearts game and thinking, that voice is going to change then. That voice, the voice of Tynecastle, the voice of Hearts.
When his balls drop, it's going to get even lower.
I didn't at that point. Scott Wilson, you could have said any name. I had no idea who you were, but that you've had an impact that you'll never know that you've had on people. And I really, I totally respect that you're super humble and whatnot. But I almost want to just be like, Scott, listen, man, you're a fucking legend.
No, I get it, and I love it.
The impact is huge on so many people that come to the stadium.
Ridiculous, absolutely.
It's huge.
But I know, and I get it, and my kids keep on telling me that. I came out of the Gorgie suite on the first game of the season. Was it Ross County? Ross County, I've come out and done my stuff, and these kids come over and can we get a selfie? Aye, no problem. Just want to say that, you're the only voice I've ever known. And I looked at him like, pal, you're literally a fetus here, it's no real. And he's like, and I could cry. The boy's about 9.
Yeah.
and that sort of thing, you walk away, and I was chuckling, and I thought, God love him. And I guess that's the case. It's been synonymous with Hearts for all these years.
For our lives, basically our whole lives as adults.
Yeah.
It's like that's it.
I'm 25 now, so you retired this year. After 20 years.
So you've never been to until he retired. You've never been to a Hearts game.
You've had a couple of holidays, I think, when I still remember. Being like, that's
a different voice.
That's not that
Who's
guy.
that guy?
But yeah, for sure. So
yeah, and I would love to just to go back to it because I really want to get your take on it. Was just the fans singing your voice, singing your name.
It was very humbling, and I knew it was coming. And I said to Chris, I'd rather they didn't do this, and I'd rather it was just present me with a bottle and then pat me on the back, and that's great. But to have that, it was remarkable.
Because the players get that every week, right? And we probably look at it and I think, wow, imagine getting your name chanted at Tynecastle for you've experienced it.
Wow. Oh no, and it was just, it was a very humbling experience, and that's why I put my hand on my heart. Because it meant a lot to me, but I'm at the end and I'm going, today's attendance, and the man of the match is, next thing Craig comes up and pulls me down. I'm like, what? Come with me. Right, okay. I thought maybe you want to present me with your shirt or whatever. And they formed the Guard of Honour. Really?
No, you must have. How was your composure? Were you? Oh
no, I was okay.
You feeling emotional?
The only time I was emotional was at half time, and Lockie speaking to me and presenting me with the whiskey and all that stuff. And it was a stupid one because what's your favourite goal over the 20 years? And there's been some spectacular ones, but the one that meant the most was Paul Hartley's penalty against Aberdeen.
Right.
And that meant we won that game, we finished second, and we qualified for the Champions League qualifiers. And then went to Ibrox the following week, and Rangers were third, and we had the banner that said Champions League section. and that was great, but I got quite emotional there. And then I went into the Gorgie suite after the game, as I normally do, and everybody stood up. It's like, brilliant. Oh, Jesus, get over it. Get over it. And
the humility is insane.
Well, it's just crazy. It's ridiculous. I understand that, a Rudy Scatchell, a John Robertson, absolutely.
It's all part of the experience. The way the players are part of the experience. Like you say, the hospitality is part of the experience. The announcer, it's all part of the day.
That.
It's what the fans
entirely.
go and.
But and I'm so grounded in that. But I'm just that wee boy for Birdie House and
just live the dream.
The guys that I used to stand on the terrace and in the shed at the corner and idolise are now on my phone.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Ridiculous. Gary Mackay phoned me and I'm on the bus, and that's it. And then I put that down when I'm coming in here and I'm thinking, Gary Mackay's just phoned me. Mackay's wanting something, obviously, because that's why. And I'm speaking at a dinner for him, and he last year, and he came up and he's like, "This club should have a testimonial for you." I'm like, "Aye, right, well, what about?" No, you do so much for the club. No,
Two testimonials for 20 years, do you not?
Well, they started it, and then I get a call from somebody and saying we've had a meeting, we're having a testimonial. I'm like, "No, it's not happening. Absolutely not happening. No, you've done this." I'm like, "No, you're grand. Absolutely. Give me whiskey, great.
Take the whiskey.
I'm not having it. I'm genuinely not having it." And so I don't know what's happening in the background, but I would be really uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, testimonials for the players.
Footballers,
it's for the
undeniably.
players. Yeah, I would agree with you there. But
absolutely.
I think watching the footage of the fans singing your name and all that stuff, it touched me. It definitely moved me.
Other than a fan or a season ticket holder, there's nobody in football that's kind of served a club as long as somebody as yourself. So that's probably where the legendary stats come from. Do you know what I mean? Now, I'm 25, so there's maybe a chance I could become a Hearts legend. You know?
Plenty of time, man.
Gordon the kit man.
How long has he been at the club? I bet it's been a long time.
I don't know. I have no idea, but he was Harry. The original Harry.
Yeah.
And he's just a great lad.
And there'll be girls in the tea room, and there'll be guys there'll be people in the admin that have been here for 30 years. 40 years.
She started in the club shop. Claire's great. She's been here forever. She should be getting a testimonial. That sort of stuff.
But
I'm just lucky that I'm kind of front of house.
Customer facing.
Hearts
You're the MC, mate.
Say it before, I'll say it again. Create your own luck though, Scott.
Indeed. I'm a big fan of that, absolutely.
And do you know the other thing I wanted to ask you was just, and you may or may not have any, but I just thought, give us an untold story of a footballer or something that's happened in the last 20 years. What have you never said?
No.
Come on.
Honestly, it's in my book.
Very well, we can definitely plug the book. Right, let's get that.
The book is called Chasing Flamingos. Unfortunately, it's not published yet. It's been sat with my lawyer for 6 years, and it's predicated on an evening. Hearts were playing Bayern Munich in Bayern. We won the 1-0 here, and then we went over to Bayern, and I am in the Royal Albert Hall, and it's a DJ convention, and I am doing a documentary on James Brown. You probably don't know James Brown, the godfather of soul, anyway.
I know James.
Come on,
right, okay.
Come on.
So I'm backstage, I'm interviewing James Brown, the JBs, his backing band, Pet Shop Boys, Will Downing, Misha Paris, and every now and again I've taken my mates down. We've got a box there, and the box is full of drink, and I'm going up, canning the drink, etc, etc, and we end up back at a nightclub called the Kensington Roof Gardens. And we're up there, and I'm just realising I'm telling this story, and this is probably the wrong thing to do.
Tell the story.
Fill me full of whiskey.
Tell the story.
So
the whiskey is that's why the whiskey is part of the podcast.
The long and short of it is, I'm in a booth, and in that booth are, amongst others, Sunita.
Okay. Legend.
Paul Simonon from The Clash.
Yeah.
Paul Hardcastle. Do you remember 19?
No. Not quite.
Jesus.
Not quite.
How old am I? How young are you? Anyway, Alexander O'Neill, that'll mean nothing to you. Oh my God, you know Alexander O'Neill? Good grief. A guy called Junior Giscombe that had a hit with a song called Mama Used to Say.
Okay.
And a couple of other people who I shan't name because they're very, very key to it. Anyway, and a guy called Tony Prince, and Tony Prince used to be on Radio Luxembourg, which is way before your time. Anyway, so Tony then comes round and said, I'm going to get a round, what do you want? And he takes notes, Scott, come and help me. So we go up, we order the round. Tony gets pulled off, because Tony's a big star, by the pap. So we've got paparazzi in there, the old style with the camera and all that nonsense. So he's over there, barman pours the drink, and he puts the tray over, and he's like, that'll be £82. And I'm like, it's not my round, big man. I said, it's his. And he's like, where are you from? I said, Edinburgh. I can tell that. Whereabout? I said, Birdie House. I'm for Pennycook, he says. This round's on me. I'm like, no. So I take it back. I'm like, Tony's disappeared. This round's on me.
On me.
Thanks very much. Thanks. Now, all these people with, I don't know, 100 million sales of records between them.
And you've brought them around.
And suddenly, I'm the
You're
good
the
guy.
top boy.
Another person in there who shall remain nameless at some point takes out this box and then takes out some fag papers and proceeds to roll a joint.
Right.
And puts a wire in here. Now, I've never seen a wire roll joint, and I've got a few people that have done this sort of thing. One of them in particular, sadly no longer with us, I'm not going to name him, but rolled the best joint ever. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm a pothead, absolutely not, but I've been in the industry for a long time.
Yeah.
And when you would go away on record company things, then people would invariably smoke it. And I would partake occasionally in a wee joint, never done any chemicals or anything, because I wouldn't trust myself with that. So, anyway, we do this, we have a wee smoke, and so when you smoke that, you get a thing called the munchies.
Right.
Whereby, you know, like we would go out for a night out and then on the way home, I'll have a kebab. Now, normally in a clear head, you wouldn't entertain a kebab because you know what's in a kebab. So I go up to my friend from Pennycook and like, any crisps or nuts? No, this is a posh gaff. I'm like, I'm starving, what'd you do? Have you been out on the terrace? I'm like, no, why? Some flamingos out there. So in my drug-addled mind, unbeknown to me, what I was smoking was skunk. I've never smoked skunk in my puff or since. So I'm out there and I'm chasing these flamingos because I'm thinking, we'll barbecue them. Fantastic. So that's how far gone I was. So that's where the name of the book comes. The person that rolled the joint, who is at this point remaining nameless, and unfortunately I have to name said person in my book, and said person is a...
Will we know them?
Oh, you'll know them. Oh, absolutely.
We're going to have to buy the book to find out.
Not naming said person.
We're going to have to buy the book.
Said person is family presenter, and, you know, whiter than white, etc. Now, from my perspective, this is back long time ago. Yeah, I dabbled with soft drugs, and they are soft drugs. Recreational.
If it's growing on the ground.
Legal, absolutely, a lot of the places. It's like, yeah, this is a feather in my cap. Said person wouldn't like it, and so my lawyer's like, no chance. You publish this book, you get sued, you lose your house, you lose your career, He said, like, in your terms, and he did say this to me, great banter. I'm like, doesn't sound like great banter to me. But, you know, anyway, so the book sat there, and the people that have read it think that it is great fun, and it is, because it's a long career that I've had, but unfortunately, no, I can't publish it at the moment. But there's lots of wee stories, and there are footballer stories in there.
Great. So
that was a very longhand version of answering a very, very short question.
Similar to what Simon just asked. I've watched you, I've seen you in the Gorgie Suite, I've listened to your podcast. Now we've tried, hopefully we've touched on topics that maybe it's something that you've not felt like I'm just repeating myself, but there's got to be a question that you've never been asked. Something that you've never been allowed to, I want to say that, and you've never been asked the right question. What is it?
Oh, it's tricky, that one, huh?
No, that is really tricky. I'm not aware, because I'm not one that holds back on his opinion for fear of offending people. I think I've probably been asked everything that... No, there's nothing that I'm holding back thinking, oh my God, I wish people would ask me about... Nah, absolutely. I genuinely can't... I've answered every question people have ever asked me honestly. I have no skeletons in the closet. You know, aside from the Amsterdam trip. No, I genuinely don't. I don't. And if my wife's watching, that was a joke. That was a joke. You know all about the Amsterdam trip. It was, you know what goes on in Amsterdam stays in Amsterdam.
That's absolutely
Love
right.
you dearly.
Made up after that one.
No, absolutely. No, there's nothing. Right. Simply because most of my life is kind of in public. My private stuff, I'm a kind of private guy, but not that I would, you know, if I'm out for dinner and somebody comes up, recognise my voice or recognise my face and ask for a selfie, I would never go, no, I'm sorry, this is my private time. It's like, yeah, absolutely, everything's ticky-boo, that's it. So there isn't that delineation, and I do have friends that are like that when I'm out. No, not at all. No. So from that perspective, there's nothing hidden at all. So that I don't think there's a question that I've not been asked that I wish had been asked? Great question, but no, I don't think it exists.
That's a great answer. Listen,
Great.
That's what it's about.
I'm open, and this is me, and yet there are people that don't like me for what I am or what I stand for. That's great. I can deal with it. It's life. It's life. You're not going to win everything. And funnily enough, I had the conversation with a number of people that had applied for my role, and I believe there were over 300 that had applied for it when Hearts advertised it.
And you didn't want it?
No, I didn't.
Did you apply? Did you apply?
No,
I was 10. I was 4 or something.
Oh no, when? No, this year. Are you talking about
this year? When when I told the club in whatever it was, March, that I was hanging up my mic, then they advertised it.
Who's getting it? Who's?
No, we've got it.
You've got it. Who is it? Is it Graham?
Graham's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Graham's the
I was looking at
announcer
an article
Hampden,
today.
and he's great, and he's a Hearts fan, and his brother's a Hearts fan, and it's
You've got to be a club
But
club
there's
guy.
a lot of he's not Scott Wilson. No, he's not Scott Wilson. Absolutely, just get over it. It's transition.
He will be Scott Wilson
in 20 years.
Correct.
In 20 years,
eventually, absolutely,
Yeah.
and he'll make it his own, and he's great, and he's a lovely, lovely guy. But this negativity is like, oh, he does this and he does that.
People are averse to change naturally. Humans don't like change just naturally, I think, and we have to be careful with change. I think change management is something that is very difficult, especially after 20 years of having the same thing, of somebody who's so ingrained. People are immediately going to think, oh, I hate the new guy, but like you say, in 10 years, he's going to be the guy.
Because when I handed in my notice and somebody drew my attention to an online I think it was Kickback or something like that. And
it's a scary place.
I started Kickback in 2005, so I built the first Hearts website.
You built
Kickback?
Yeah.
I built the whole Hearts website,
Wow.
and that's how I first got introduced to the board. Because I was on radio at the time, and I thought this is a good idea. My background's obviously in artificial intelligence, IT, and all this malarkey. And I thought, I'll build this out of it, and I did it. And I thought, right, well, we need it to be official. And so, because I knew a couple of members of the Hearts board through coming into Radio 4th, I said, when's your next board meeting? Such and such. Can I come in? Yeah, absolutely. So I came in with this huge CRT monitor and a computer, because it was a desktop. We didn't have laptops at the time. This huge thing, and I showed it to them. And
plugging it all in and
absolutely.
setting up the wires and that.
God love them. A lot of them were like old dinosaurs. What's this box here, and etc. And I showed them, and I said, "This is it's on what's called the internet, and some papers are calling it the information superhighway." Right over their head. Effectively, this is the future, and this is our online presence. What do you think? I had all this, and they're like, oh, okay. And at the end of it, Chris went, and what do you want us to do? I said, endorse it.
Yeah, invest in it.
Okay,
yeah.
fine.
Get behind it.
I said, because I'm going to launch it anyway.
Yeah.
But it's much better if the club say, yeah, it's fine. You've met me, you know me. I'm never going to bring the club into disrepute. I'm on the radio. I have a profile. Right, okay. They endorsed it, and within 6 weeks, we were the first officially endorsed soccer club.
Nice.
Yeah, sound like Paul
international
Paul
audience.
Ritchie, who said soccer on Thursday and neat. It's like, Paul, really? Anyway, we were the first officially endorsed soccer site on the web, and in 6 months we won the award from BBC Radio 5 Live, Big Bite programme, as the best soccer site on the internet. On the internet.
Yeah.
Full stop, underline.
And this is my point. Describes himself as a fan with a mic, and it's nonsense.
Yeah, but listen,
it's absolute
it's a
nonsense.
Passion. It's a passion.
Exactly.
I was a sad techie, and probably had too much time on my hand when I'm not playing Super Mario and getting frustrated at not being able to beat Bowser. and so I did it, and the club, all credit to them, endorsed it. They had no idea, and they just had this loud guy coming in going, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want you to do, and it's like, oh, okay, if you'll stop talking, we'll say yes and beat it. And I did it. And so I launched Kickback, which ironically in 2004 or whatever it was, came back to bite me on the arse. And Chris had me in, and he said, we're moving it to Murrayfield, will you be the stadium announcer? And I said, number one, I'm unhappy at moving it to Murrayfield because this is our spiritual home. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go, but if we're going, yes, I will be. Next thing I'm in the press is having endorsed our move to Murrayfield. Mm-hmm. I absolutely didn't. And my kids were getting hassle at school. Oh, really? Ended up the police sat at the bottom of my street for 2 weeks to monitor what was going on. I was at Radio 4th. I was given a mirror on a stick to check underneath my
Oh
car
my
before
goodness.
I drove it.
Really?
How ridiculous is that?
Really?
Anyway, that's what happened there.
Wow.
But the net result, thankfully, we didn't move, but they endorsed it, and we went on to grow to what we are today. And Kickback, yes. Is it my favourite fans forum? No, absolutely not.
Oh.
I think
all
life is there. All life is there. Take it, and there's a lot of people that are very passionate about this football club, which is a great thing. How they express that passion, well, that's
misguided maybe in
you know,
areas, in places.
You know, the opinions are like heads. We've all got one.
We've all got one.
We've all got one.
I'm glad you went for heads there. I'm glad you went for heads there. That was nice.
It's the opposite end of the body from what people normally say, but that's it. And you know, you've got an opinion, and you have an opinion. You bring that to me, and we sit in the diggers and we discuss it. Absolutely, but some people feel that they can do that behind the cloak of anonymity online, and it's just like, really, if you said that in the diggers to some people,
you wouldn't
leave
you
with
wouldn't
your teeth.
they wouldn't say it. They wouldn't say it.
No, absolutely.
They wouldn't say it.
So why do you feel you can come out with that diatribe and that vitriol online because you're hiding behind my name is San Pellegrino and your avatar is a tin of juice.
You've got a brand deal, eh? For sure.
You're desperate for a brand deal.
I'm available. You know my
endorsed.
Just Google it. You'll find my agent's name. I am available. San Pellegrino is tastefully light.
No, I totally agree with that. I think it comes down to the individual as well. It's funny because despite we could have 10 losses on the trot, and I'm a big believer of manifesting, and I think if you think negatively from the stands, then negative is what you see on the pitch. Yeah. So I've always been, I hate booing, regardless, the worst performance ever, I've never ever booed, but that's a personal thing. That's what I understand, that there's people that have paid a lot of money to be here, and they will boo, and that's certainly not just at Hearts, that's every club in the world that's ever existed, that if you're paying good money and you're not getting your money's worth, then do you have a right to boo? Yes, probably. For me, it's maybe a more personal manifestation thing, that I think just negativity breeds negativity, positivity breeds positivity.
Yeah, especially footballers feel that. Feel that.
Gary Locker's is saying, show me a player that's ever improved after being booed.
Yes, I
agree with that.
Exactly, and most players, all players are younger than me. They're all on social media. They read all this negativity.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I'm not saying that you pay your whatever it is that you pay to come to a match, and you're entitled to your opinion. But you put that on social media, and you go, Simon, completely cack. He was rubbish here.
Overweight, too old, too bald, useless. All true.
Let's not get accurate. Let's hypothesise here.
All true.
And Simon reads that. How's Simon going to feel?
Yeah, it's not helping
Simon
him.
going to feel when he comes out and he runs out of the tunnel?
It's not helping him, mate. It's not helping.
100%. I think you've summed it up perfectly there, but it's definitely. I would love there to be maybe a more positive ethos around the club, but you definitely you win 2 games on the trot and you've got that.
Feels great.
Absolutely.
You've got it. And because I've only ever been a Hearts fan, I've only ever been a season ticket holder, and if I've ever gone into another stadium, it's been in the away end. So I can't imagine that feeling is foreign to any other club. I think it's
fairly universal.
Yeah, for sure. I don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Apart from a very select few clubs, like your Ugly Sisters, as you described them, it's a very different experience. But the 99% of football clubs never win a trophy in their entire existence.
Yeah.
We have to remember that. That's an important thing.
The challenge is, and this is a young team issue that most fans, I don't know if that's right, but anyway, a large proportion of fans have seen 3 Scottish Cup wins in their lifetime.
Yeah.
I was 36.
Me included.
Well, you. Perfect. I was 36 before Hearts won anything, apart from the East of Scotland Shield, where we beat Hibs 3-1. Great game. Great game, by the way.
Highlight.
And I celebrated like it was Christmas. But, that 1998 Scottish Cup win, wow, that was a turning point.
Yeah.
Massive. Absolutely massive. And there's a chapter about it in my book, because I was here till 4 a.m. and then Robbo and his then wife were dragging me and Gillian out. Come on, we're going back to my house for karaoke. And I'm like, yeah. And Gillian said, you're live on Fox TV tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Get your arse to bed.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this is a great night. You're live on Fox TV, because I was working for the Scottish Claymores, but I was doing stuff for Fox.
Yeah.
And I'm like, reluctantly gets dragged home, and I'm like resenting it. And then it turns up the next day. I drove to Murrayfield. Absolutely shouldn't have drove, but I had shades on, and it was a James Bond theme, and they put me in a white tux, and I had my white tux, and I had my Hearts baseball cap on that Claire had given me the night before in the Gorgie suite, and eyes like road maps. And I'm talking to the camera, and I remember this, and I've got my local director in my left ear, and I've got the American director in my right ear, and we're going live, and we're live to Scott Wilson in Murrayfield in Scotland, Scott, build, yeah, dun, we've got this, and the camera pans round Murrayfield, and they're saying, oh, it looks like fewer people than normal. I said, yeah, but there's a lot of people on the street. I'm looking at the camera. A lot of people on the street because our local soccer team won the Scottish Cup yesterday, and my voice started to crack. and the American director, Jean, girl's name, but however, Jean's gone, oh my God, you're getting emotional about soccer? I'm like, emotional? Let me tell you this. And this year, is the local director going, wind your neck in, son, wind your neck in. I'm like, I've waited 36 years.
I've waited my whole life for this.
And Jean's going, right, okay, that's great. Hey, Scott, the listeners love your blue eyes. Why don't you take off your shades? I'm like, Jean, you don't want that. And this year's going, don't you fucking
There's no
dare.
blue in those
Don't
eyes
you
today.
fucking dare. I'm like, no, take your, and I lift it up, and it's like road maps. Absolutely. Because I've been absolutely battered the night before. And Jean's gone, oh my God, put them back on. And Kenny in my left ear's gone, get them back on. And I put it back down, and then we go back to, okay, so how's the game going to go? And I'm like,
I've got no idea.
oh, absolutely. Amazing, because I wanted to be here, I wanted to be in the street, but I'm contractually obliged to be over there and talking about American football. Yeah. And it was just
brilliant.
One of the, I don't know, highlights or lowlights, as far as that bit where I lift the car and he goes, oh my God, the kid's going, fucking stop it. And I normally have voices in my head anyway, but one who's local in Edinburgh and one who's in New York going, oh my God. It was tremendous. So absolutely.
Listen,
tremendous.
we're getting nods from the support team, the
They've
tech
fallen
team.
asleep, that's why
Listen,
they're
I've
going like that.
To say that we need to.
From about 5 minutes in, I've thought this is the outcome. So
and also we could probably quite comfortably do another one of these and just keep talking, So there is a lot, but we do need to probably look at wrapping it up. Scott, I think sorry, I don't know if you've got a plan here. Let's hear. Look, website is
dramdujour.com.
Dramdujour.com. It's going under. You've got some work going on the website.
Yes, but it'll still be Dramdujour. www.dramdujour.com.
Dramdujour.com. We can find you on podcasts. We can find you on all sorts of different
Wilson
things.
on Facebook, on
Scotty
Twitter,
Wilson.
la.
All the same at Scotty Wilson on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Give Scott a follow. Make sure we're listening and we're tuning into his content and getting on the website. Let's have a look at that.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a moment that
go on. You look like you're building up to something.
A moment in time that I've waited for.
You're building up. You're gonna hug him. Are you gonna hug him?
I'm gonna fuck it up. Wherever you've come from, whoever you've come to support, this is TalkJuice. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you so much,
How
Scott.
cool
We
is that?
appreciate
Well
it.
done. Thank you so much.
Guys, well done. That was great. That's amazing.
It's a wrap.
Thank you so much.
Nice one.
No worries. That was great.
Scott, that was brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was
magic.
brilliant.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you
It
so
was
much.
really
That was
good.
great. I really enjoyed that.
Grand fun.